That's why I
fossils.
say
Kagito,
Noah. Like,
what
if
do
Noah was real and he had to like choose two animals, that's why we don't have dinosaurs anymore because he didn't let the dinosaurs on board.
right? What do you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
think of
fucking
it? What
Lamau.
do you guys think of irreducible complexity? I feel
Noah.
like that's kind of a more advanced stage of like, so it's not that they question macro or microevolution. It's like from the beginning origins of life, from when for when chemistry right becomes organic chemistry, that exact point, origin of life, that's when they cite like the
Hmm.
life is too complex to introduce itself. What do you what are your all your thoughts?
Run that
So
back.
like as a
Confusion.
Like clarify.
So I don't know,
Maybe provide an
going
example.
going from like, not only, so we've kind of proven that amino acids can be made from like really basic stuff. There's this
Yep.
experiment with whatever chemicals, and it simulated like lightning and whatever conditions on like viable conditions on a planet, and we can like make amino acids. Um, but then you have, I don't know if I believe this personally, but um, the people who believe in this are mostly
Believe in what?
advocates of intelligent design.
Oh, okay. Can I ask a question?
yeah, so
So,
so so I wait.
what
I
you're
do want to
saying
just say like one
is,
thing.
that life is too complex for it to be introduced on its own. So the
Like
implication is that there had to be like
No,
a outside
I'm not
vector, or
no,
I'm
the
not
idea that it's
personally
like a certain
advocating
amount of
this. I'm
irreducible
asking.
Let
complexity
him
is
answer. Let him answer.
something like if you were to like. Oh, okay.
Again, disclaimer. I'm not sure if I believe it.
well, I'm not saying
Again,
that you do,
gauging
but
gauging your thoughts. But yeah. I guess that's
So
like
it's the
the
idea that
main.
certain biological systems with multiple interacting parts would not function if one of the parts are removed. So you're talking about like complex biological structures, and the argument is with irreducible complexity is that if you were to remove one of these parts, the whole thing would therefore like be pointless, would not serve a function, and would not function overall. Like there, so it's irreducibly complex, right? But like whenever you look at like stepwise evolution or like functional intermediates, like it's largely the consensus of the scientific field that if you were to remove like one of these parts, like it still would like the parts even if not part of like a broader, more complex structure, still serve like an intended function and purpose. Like there's yet to be pointed at a structure that like say forms a complex structure that like if you were to like remove like an intermediate step, like the remaining intermediaries do not serve a function in and of themselves.
Oh, I know what you guys are talking about now. Yep. Okay.
So
I get what
we
you mean.
talking
Yeah, I think I
creationism in
understand.
here?
Yeah, we're talking. We're going from we've gone from
Made.
the people
It's
who
because depth
we had a
charge
guy
doesn't believe
we
in
had a guy in here
evolution.
who did not believe in like evolution period,
Oh, he left.
or was it
Yeah,
like,
that's depth charge. Yeah,
yeah,
classic
yeah,
depth charge.
and like
Did he leave
going
already?
against the,
hey,
yes,
he's an
he did.
outside the box thinker,
Cogito
right?
was making the point
Okay,
of something, and then
Damn
he
it! I
just
wanted to hear him talk more.
he deafened himself and then left.
okay.
That
Look,
he
guys, he's not. Listen, just because he's not controlled by the modern SJW narrative about evolution, okay, doesn't mean that.
Just quickly, I need you to look at my stream. You see this
Oh,
cat?
I do see
PD.
the
You see
cat.
him? Do you
Oh,
know how rare it is for him to be on the bed? He's on the fucking bed. Holy
Oh,
shit.
It
Pilar, there's
was
another cat. Come look.
um
Come look.
was that what you were talking about, Paladin? What Kigero described?
Pilar.
Yeah,
Look, you see the cat?
yeah.
You see the cat?
I was wondering, like, the,
You see?
there
He's the
are
cat.
I don't know.
Hi, kiddo.
There's certain people in like the intelligent design movement
You see?
who come up with like somewhat
London.
compelling theories. I don't know if they're compelling just because they're
You see it?
I mean,
dumb,
there's like
or they just
zero
don't know enough.
evidence for any
yeah.
origin. It's just all theories.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the first time I've heard of the concept of irreducible complexity, but
Right.
it seems that the argument is that there are certain features that organisms have that do not have useful intermediaries, and then therefore could not
Right.
manifest.
Yeah.
So that's the idea, is that why it would
Right.
support like a creationist worldview or something.
Right. I think
Well-
right now the I think the largest God of the Gaps thing that's going on, one of the holes in our understanding is like in abiogenesis, specifically one certain part of abiogenesis in prebiotic synthesis. We aren't 100% sure. We have a bunch of theories on like how, but we're not like 100% sure on the exact process of prebiotic synthesis. So that's kind of where a lot of people come in and say, you know, this is really unlikely for it to have happened without divine intervention. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's
I
like
think that's I think
that's like the weird thing about that statement is like saying something's really unlikely to happen without divine intervention, like makes it sound like you're saying it would be really likely with divine intervention, or
Right.
like somehow that you
Like-
can say divine intervention is likely, which doesn't
I
follow
don't.
from that.
I don't think that's what's being said.
But I mean, here's the thing: even the Wikipedia, like the Wikipedia for like irreducible complexity, like dismisses it as pseudoscience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I thought you were gonna jump in, Kagito, and say the monkeys and the typewriter thing. And just say it doesn't matter if it's likely or not. It's just that if you know, in the space that we live in the universe, that it's just inevitable to happen, right?
well, yeah, I mean that also for sure. Like, with an infinite amount of time. But I mean, it's like the idea that like no one system. I mean, it's like fuck. It's not necessarily the case, even with evolutionary biology, that all things necessarily have to serve a function. You can have like a successful, you can have like genetic mutations that pass on throughout lineages that could be completely useless. Like it just so fucking happens the people who have it, right? And in it like fuck, it could even be detrimental. Like it's not always for the best. Generally, it is, right? And it could be the case that, say, even if there were to be something completely useless, it could one day become useful.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, my fucking ears.
So
Look at that.
what's inevitable? What do we say is inevitable?
Yeah,
Life, I
evolution.
guess.
America becoming a majoritively atheist country.
Well, it's happening. If you look at the current, like as far as I'm aware, the current system is down for people who actually believe in religion. That's like worldwide. Those that actually do believe it either moderately believe it, but they like enjoy science and like medicine as well, or they're
Mhm.
really radical believers, in which case they're the issue at the problem. Well, the issue at the problem at the moment. Yeah, sorry, English.
Well,
Mhm.
But the amount of people that I've seen that actually follow it and follow like the actual religions and not like a break off section of that religion, it's very very low. I've encountered very low. I've seen lots of people like in like subsections of Christianity and like the different sects, and same with Muslim and all of that, but I haven't actually seen people follow the proper like directions of the religion. if that makes sense.
Unironically, look, I was just memeing with that, but I mean, it absolutely is the case that like all modeling predicts that those who are not religiously affiliated will become the majority. Link inside chat from
well,
Pew Research.
there.
But if it
there-
comes to something like
Kagito,
evolution, though,
I've been wanting to ask you something about this ever since I heard you talk about the monkeys and a typewriter thing. What do you think of the Boltzmann brain? Have you ever heard of this?
yes, I have like the idea that like it's sort of like a solipsistic, like a solipsistic argument. I can't fucking pronounce it. That it could be the case that like a brain just formed in space, and that reality is the perception of this brain. Like none of this is actually real. It's all just like a hallucination. Like
It's the
yeah, I
Matrix.
mean might be, like the odds are low based on the information we have available to us.
Like
Wait,
we're all
do you think it's
person.
wait, why is it more or less likely that we live on a planet and not a brain? And we're not like a brain floating in the sky?
Yeah. Like the way I'll come to this is just the repeated reliability of our senses and accurately being able to assess the nature of the reality around us. So it's just like I touch hot stove hurt me, I don't touch hot stove, right? It's just the repeated reliability of the senses and conveying accurate information.
Like Morocco is very different.
Yeah, but
I
Tunisia
know even
invaded.
within Morocco they have like the Berber Morocco like sort of thing. Like the Berber Arabic, whatever you call it.
Yeah, what is it called?
It feels like there is a growing movement in the United States and around the world for a very human-centered philosophy, a very human-centered worldview where just humans are it, and there's nothing beyond this reality here on Earth. And so we got to focus on just a humanistic, a human way of using reason, as if humans are reasonable and use reason all the time. We don't. We can try.
I
And what are we getting from it? We're getting some fucked up policies from it.
Depth
For
charge.
fucked up policy,
If
this
I
is the best time to live in all of human
okay,
history.
Kogito,
Unironically,
just a second,
no.
just a second, Kogito, just a second, right? Like, so depth charge. I do want to sort of challenge you on that idea, right? I think that when it comes to most people, I think me included, right? I think most of us would probably believe in not that like, oh, humans are it, and there is no possibility of another dimension or even a god existing. That's not really the argument that people would make. Personally, if I were to make sort of like a secular argument, right, my argument would be, hey, there's no definitive evidence that God exists, so I'm going to live my life as if God doesn't exist, right? There's no reason for me to live my life as God exists if I don't see any evidence for God existing. So therefore, therefore, like I'm going to live my life. That doesn't mean that like you cannot derive other like meanings from your life, right? Or that doesn't even mean that God definitively doesn't exist, right? I think most people are agnostic to that belief, right?
Yeah, so
Like
my thing
so
for me personally, it just comes down to how does God impact our life? Because in the past, we didn't have information. So religion was very prominent because people didn't have an education. They couldn't think for themselves. They basically just turned up to church, got told this is what you believe, and that's what they believed because they didn't know any better. Why I believe religion is basically becoming unimportant is because we have an education this day and age. We have people able to think for themselves. They come to their own conclusions and they're not prosecuted. Because the big thing in the past was you were prosecuted if you didn't believe in like Christianity. Like if you were in Britain and you weren't Christian, you were ostracized and you were harmed and you were like just kicked out because like what
I heard
That actually happens today. That
I
actually
heard
happens today.
I heard
it
one
happens
Yeah, but
today,
religion
but
just
also
offers a sense of purpose. It's not an indoctrination
Actually
camp.
happens. What
I
you
heard
just
one I
described,
heard one
Rampage,
historian
happens
look at
today on
this
the
day and
internet.
age, if you look at this day and age, we have an education, we have people that can do math, science. They look at the world and they go, well, if God is doing these things, and if God is, because this is the question I ask myself, like, if God is real, why does he allow all this bad shit to happen? And people say, oh, well, he doesn't like to interfere. Well, it's
Not
like
a
he's
problem
interfered in
of
the
evil.
past.
Like
Why doesn't he
whatever.
like to do it now?
may I add
No, stick with the
may
God of the gaps. It's
I
just a
may
much
I
better
add
Why
thing. It's
something?
like
why
you
does
don't
God
need
not
to
swoop
fucking
in and prevent the bad things from
yeah,
happening?
wait.
Can I
But
Yeah,
add
the
I
problem with evil is a
personally,
completely
so I
different thing. A
personally
better
like
argument is a
say,
God
forget
of the
God.
gaps. Like
Let's
for
just focus
example,
on the
like
people doing the rules.
uh,
I let's just say, let's
it's like
forget God and let's let humans make the rules for once, basically.
Well, humans do make rules in passing
Humans
laws
are
for a
bad at making
society,
rules.
We make rules in the name of God.
but
A lot of people are
humans
doing that.
have
Yeah,
lots of different
Putin does.
inspiration. There's lots of different inspirations to create those laws.
I had a history
You're right. We don't
professor
need the
Truth
main.
is, humans are horrible at making laws.
I
We
had a
are.
history professor in college who described like the easiest way, because one of the things you said, Miss Christmas, about like how historically like being like a non-Christian was like so heavily stigmatized, like like persecuted in society. I had a history professor in college who said that the easiest way for modern people to understand like the stigma of like a non-Christian in like medieval Europe, for instance, it's like the equivalent of like someone being like a pedophile. It's like that's how strong like the social like stigma was. It's like you were considered like if you were a non-Christian, it's like you were like the worst possible, like every like horrible, association like is made. Like that's how strong like the social stigma was.
There's
Yeah,
there's a
well,
there,
I don't
In
even
medicine,
there's
if
a
you look at
there's
medicine,
this
hold up,
hold on
medicine in the
there,
past
there's
was
the
seen as
stigma.
basically, if
There's
you practice medicine, if you were able to heal people through herbs and spices and through like tonics and all that crap, You were seen as a witch, is why we had the witch trials. This
Oh, for
day and
sure,
age,
sure.
churches can't get away with saying that we're doing witchcraft when it saves so many people. In the
There's a
past, you
there,
couldn't
I
get
don't
away
even
with it.
think,
You would
by the
kill
way,
there,
it was people who were just non-Christians. I'm pretty sure they prosecuted people who were like Christian in like different ways and stuff. Like they
Oh
would
yeah,
kick people out based on
mhm.
like
oh yeah.
how they prayed
But
differently.
that's because religion told them to. They basically said we're doing the devil's work, like male or female. If you're doing the devil's work, if you're a male, you're under their spell and there's nowhere to save you. So we're going to kill you. If you're the woman, we're going to hang you. We're going to drown you. We're going to burn you. And lots of the times, if you drowned, you were seen as innocent, but you were still dead.
So
That's
there's a
why, like,
there's
Like,
a
I
there's
just
there's a stigma now. There's a stigma now in 2024 when someone expresses doubt of the view or belief that humans evolved from lower forms of life. There's a stigma now.
Yeah, but you're just
In
retarded.
can I continue? I'm almost done.
Let him
There's a
continue, guys.
there's
Yeah.
a stigma now when someone expresses doubt in the narrative of human driven and human man-made climate change. There's a stigma now for these
Mhm.
things. We experience it every day in
So
political discussions.
depth charge. Can I hold on one second?
That's
One
certainly
second. I want to
true.
ask
I
a
mean,
question. I want to ask a
Hold on,
question.
man.
Hold on.
Okay.
Please let me ask a question quickly.
No,
Okay.
wait.
So,
Hold on. Wait. Panda, can I just do one thing? Just one thing.
No,
No,
no, you
No,
can,
you
no, you
can't. Listen,
cannot.
we've
You
already gotten
cannot.
sidetracked. All right, we can do this later.
so
Here, I'll
depth
do it.
charge. Depth charge.
Panda,
When you
go
say
ahead.
hold on. So depth charge. When you say there's a stigma now, what specifically do you mean by that? Right. So I can
People
try to
being
understand.
mocked, people
Yeah.
being mocked, made fun of, laughed at.
Is that a stigma? Because like for me, when I think of a stigma, like for example, like stigma is so if you're like a non-Christian Uganda, certain parts of Uganda, you get fucking murdered and shit. Okay, or like for example, if you oppose the kill the gays bill in Uganda, right? You are like you are doxxed, you are asked, right? You would be your family would be targeted sometimes physically. That's what I think of when I think of stigma. I think when
Fucking
people
find your
criticizes
grinder.
your ideas, right? When
Uh-huh.
people criticizes like your ideas or my ideas, if I said something like, hey, I oppose the idea of like human-made climate change or global warming or whatever, right? And somebody made fun of me on the internet. I don't know if that's a necessarily like.
Okay.
I guess you could
there's-
consider that a
wait.
stigma.
No,
So,
I think,
Hold
I
on.
think,
I
I
think
think
you can
there's
consider
a,
one second.
I think,
So
I think it
you
is a
consider-
stigma. I
I
mean, but
think you
it's
can consider that
Yeah.
okay. You can consider that a stigma, but alternatively, I view that as like a sort of a criticism, right?
okay. There are
Yeah.
Yes.
a lot of celebrities and public figures in the United States and around the world in 2024 who talk about physically assaulting their political opponents. Like one of the senators from Montana said that to battle the president at the time, the previous president, you got to punch him in the face. So there is a
What?
stigma for people
said that?
having disagreement. John Tester.
That is based though, actually.
Wait.
So
No,
No,
it's
he
not.
said
just
punch
no,
so
it's
not
not.
Is
based.
that
He said
No,
not
it's not
so
based.
you're talking about
Whoever
you're
said
talking
that's
about a
it's not based.
so hold on no it's not based. Okay, you're totally correct. Okay, so
Yeah.
are you talking about like a one politician, like, or are you talking about like a more of
I
a
have
systemic
many examples of public
No, he's
figures
talking about
talking
the
about
fucking. He's
describing of the assault of their political opponents. I've
Sure.
seen it happen in real life,
Sure.
like where people actually do assault their political opponents at
Sure.
rallies.
Sure. So like
yeah.
you're
I think that's
talking about
I think that's a totally valid observation.
no that is totally totally I agree that shouldn't happen, right? But like I think there's a difference between like that, like having like handful of politicians or whatever, or even like some random average fucking Discord user being like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking go kill the president. By the way, I don't mean this, okay? Versus like systemic sort of discrimination of certain ideas or certain groups. I think there's a pretty discernible difference there. Would
I
you
disagree.
disagree
Well,
with that?
yeah. I
see,
mean, like
my-
here's
I
the
think
material
the
difference.
important
No, you know,
thing is
I've been
the
wanting to say this for a while.
justification, right?
Hold on,
Here's
Lotus.
the material difference.
Lotus.
Whenever,
Go ahead.
yeah. Look. Here's the thing. I'm just gonna say, like the material difference is like whenever we're talking about like say whether or not like violence is being advocating. I mean, no one is advocating to like punch those who deny climate change in the face. And if they are, they're a very, 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 very small subsection. But it's like whenever you ask like for the reason of laughing, it's because like, dude, in 8th grade I learned about greenhouse gases, right? Like this is like common, undisputed shit. Like here's a NASA kid.
Undisputed, huh?
Yeah, greenhouse
Very
gases.
much
Yeah,
so, yes.
undisputed.
When
Okay,
we say
wait, it's
undisputed,
undisputed in the
undisputed
same
by
way.
majority of
It's
people.
undisputed in the same way that like gravity is undisputed. Like
No,
people
it's
do
not.
dispute gravity.
No,
Like
no, it's
people
not.
dispute gravity.
Or like
physical
or
gravity.
the Earth being flat, right? Like it is disputed by very few people. But when we say undisputed, we mean like overwhelming of the
Okay,
scientific
wait.
community.
To be fair. Okay,
I linked you a
let's be honest.
NASA
It's not.
kids. Look,
There
I
are
linked you a NASA
more.
kids argument, like a NASA kids website on explaining
Wait,
like
okay,
fucking
that's okay. No
greenhouse
need to be.
gases.
No
No,
need to be
it's that. It's
diminutive at this point. Like,
that simple.
I mean,
it is that simple.
we're arguing
It's
about
not
why
that simple.
it's okay to be.
It's really not that
So
simple.
Gravity being
so it
disputed is not the
true.
same as flat Earth. Gravity is
So
absolutely
So
disputed.
it is.
Just
So
because
it
the
is
kids say force doesn't
true
mean it's
that
true.
climate change is more disputed than gravity, as in there are like more common people that
Correct.
don't believe in climate change that don't believe in gravity or
No,
don't believe in the flat earth. There's like a scale of it, right? But when we
Yeah,
talk
climate
about, like,
change
the
is not
scientific process
undisputed. It's
and how
absolutely
these things
disputed.
are like yes, but it's disputed much more so by lay people than it is by like the
Yeah.
actual
Yeah, it's not
scientists
disputed in
doing
Not
the
true.
work.
Not true at all. There's plenty of studies that show that climate change
And
is.
there's no
Yeah,
pressure
not
in
true
the
at all.
scientific community, and there's no pressure with
sheeply
funding
scrutinized.
to have certain conclusions made in the scientific community. That just never happens.
You could
There's no
you could make that
buying of scientists at all. That just never happens.
you can
Yeah,
make
no,
that same
it does
claim
happen.
about gravity.
No,
You
here's
can
the
say
thing.
that
Here's
gravity
the
is
thing.
just there's an
Gravity is
arbitrary defense
extremely
against
hard to
gravity.
dispute, but
It's
still
true.
disputed. But climate change is
Yeah,
very easy
yeah,
to dispute.
whenever. Okay, hold on.
I think the issue with these
fucking
climate
Organization
change
for
arguments
Economic
is that
Co-Development
Talking over
recognizes
each
climate
other.
change. 181 fucking countries. Like there's the IPCC. It's like an intergovernmental panel on climate change. It's 180 countries strong, all of which whose top scientists agree with 99% fucking like there's the consensus is 99% strong, and they agree that like climate change is real. And you want to talk about like money in these studies? Holy shit! Look at the disproportional funding of anti-climate change studies from big oil companies. Like they have a huge profit incentive. But it's like the fucking consensus is 99%. It's like okay.
Okay, look, the dispute is not that climate is changing. Climate's always changing. The dispute is whether it's humans caused. Like, are we driving it, and is it to the extent? But obviously, the climate changes all the time. There's no denying that.
To fucking deny man-made climate change, you have to deny the greenhouse effect unironically.
That is not true. You can absolutely deny the human effect of climate change. Absolutely.
Wait. It's necessarily the case that if you deny. Wait, it's necessarily the case that if you deny man-made climate change, you have to deny the greenhouse effect. Because
That is not true at all. That is not even close to true, dude.
Wait. We absolutely know for a case humans.
The point of the discussion is whether or not those views are stigmatized. Like
So,
you guys are arguing
I've
over
seen a
whether or
report.
not it's a reality or not.
I've seen a report from 1982 talking about the greenhouse effect and how there's a possibility or some likelihood that Florida is going to get consumed by the ocean and its beaches.
Australia's turning into a rainforest.
It
So
is-
it's
it
already
is-
so.
it
By,
is-
yeah.
is
By the
linked
way,
in this
Florida's
Discord
already
somewhere.
Florida's already sinking. There are parts of Florida that's already sinking, right? Like
Uh-huh.
one of the
Australia's-
interesting thing is that my parents' country, Bangladesh, is like projected to sink in the next like 150 years, I think. Right, and it's already happening. The level of like ocean
Dude,
level
yes.
changes. You can like
Ocean rises and falls. That's how it goes. That's how it works. Yes.
No, it's
Ocean
rising
doesn't
to
just
a
rise
level.
and
Hold on.
fall. That's not.
No,
Water
ocean
comes from
rises. Hold on.
somewhere. You
Ocean
realize
is
that,
rising
like-
to a historic level that hasn't.
What is historic? What do you think historic means? What do you think that means?
It really has.
Historic means that historic, like as in we can measure.
Yeah, from when? What do you think? When do you think that starts? When do you think that recorded history, the historic starts? What? So when do you think it is? What do you think is the earliest that we have?
Guys, you literally
For
have a
Bangladesh
scientific
or
For anybody. When do you think that the recording started for?
And I would imagine. I would imagine.
the-
that-
Can we slow this down and just talk one at a time?
Well, that's the point is you're saying it's undisputed. It's absolutely disputed.
Yeah, I would. It's no.
Yeah, by
when I say- hold on.
1% of.
It's not. It's not. It's really not. The extent of human impact on climate. The climate change is undeniable because it always changes. But you're saying that it is undisputed that humans caused it. That is absolutely disputable.
No.
Yeah,
Fucking
wait,
revolution.
yeah,
Is that like the same
Hold
paradigm?
on, 1 second, 1 second.
Yes.
Yeah,
Forgive me
here,
just 1
wait.
second, please,
Apparently, I
please.
have to source this. Apparently, I have to
Please.
source it. No, real quick. Here's
Can
just
y'all
from
calm
NASA.
down?
Here's just
Can
from
y'all calm-
NASA, United States scientists. I can show you global
Uh-huh.
scientists, which is 99.
Uh-huh.
Fucking NASA, 97% consensus. So yeah, 3 fucking percent, 3 fucking percent can say anything, dude. Holy shit.
So
I-
yeah,
My
so
God,
depends on
okay.
how
we
you
should
ask it.
calm.
Hold on.
I-
Depends on how you ask
I
the
agree that
question.
we should calm down and let the since Depth Charge and Shiny Bear are like outnumbered, they should be able to speak a little bit more and like get more of their words out. That way we have more to respond to. I mean, I know there's always tons to respond to, even if they say a little bit.
I
on the
agree.
issue,
I
but,
agree.
like,
I agree with that. I just
Okay.
real quick, right? So
Yes.
I think that there's a misunderstanding here
Uh-huh.
happening, Shiny, right? So when people say it's undisputed, they're not saying that 100% of scientists are
It's not who says it.
right?
It's it. Can you prove it?
So
It's not it, like how many people agree. It's can you prove it?
1 second.
Okay.
1 second.
And to
Yeah, yeah,
finish.
just let me finish.
Okay.
Guys, okay. So when people say undisputed, they mean that overwhelming amount of scientists say, hey, at the very least, we contribute pretty significantly to climate change, right? Climate, like you're right that climate change always happens, but the real discussion is how much do humans contribute? And it seems like the majority of scientists agree, right? Whether we talk about the United States
Uh-huh.
or the world, majority of scientists agree that, like, hey, human beings have a pretty substantial
Yeah.
contribution to that climate change.
And
Is that the end of the
a lot
point?
faith.
Hold on. Is that the end of the point? Is that the end of the point? Because that was a whole lot of word salad to just say that that all you're saying is that people agree. They're not proving anything. They just agree.
No, I was just,
Yeah,
I was just
no, I
trying
mean,
to make the argument
So,
that
so we
The
can have a
issue-
lot of faith.
Well,
We can
there
have a
there
lot of
is
faith in
evidence.
these scientists.
The
There
issue
is
is
Yeah,
like
everyone's
evidence-
having
the
faith
issue.
in scientists, dipshit. I can send you meta-analysis on meta-analysis, bro. Like,
Sorry?
what do you want?
primary-
Of what? There's no proving. You cannot. You literally cannot prove that humans are the cause of the climate change. You literally cannot.
The Industrial Revolution.
What else
no
could
one's
it be?
saying that humans are the cause of it. This is why.
Okay, I hear you. You're saying it's undisputed because people agree. Sure, granted. But that's not saying that we're causing
You're
it.
not understanding, Shiny. You're not.
I understand what you're saying. 99% of people, 97% of scientists agree. I understand. Let me spit it back to you. If you don't let me spit it back to you, how do you know if I understand it or not? You're saying that 99% of scientists agree that climate change is caused by humans. You're not saying that it is proved. You're just saying that 99% of scientists agree.
No.
So what are you saying?
No. It's not caused by humans. It's contributed by humans. Climate change is the thing that happens.
Okay, so of course, so it counts. So what's the problem?
Just let me. Oh my god, dude! Please, okay.
Uh-huh.
Climate change is a thing that naturally happens, but the problem is human beings are contributing to a point where certain things are unrewindable, right?
Okay, so humans are causing it. So humans are the problem.
Hold on. No.
No,
We're not
okay.
making a causal link there, right? We're saying that human beings contribute to climate change to a level where if human beings didn't exist, it wouldn't be a problem as it is today, right? That's what we're saying.
That was a lot of word salad to just say the same thing.
It's not a word salad, no.
Yes, it is. You just went around the same point. You just danced around the same point.
Hold on. There's a difference between saying human caused climate change
Uh-huh.
versus human contribute to climate change.
Guys, you're not
Do you
the
see
only
the
people in the
difference there?
Obviously, anything and everything contributes to climate change. Obviously.
Cool. So do you agree with that?
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
Okay. So then you agree with the 97% of scientists.
Because you guys have talked a lot.
Can we have some other people talk? Because we're just running around in circles.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to
climate change.
clarify the
You guys are
misunderstanding.
correct. Climate change. Climate is always changing. That's a fact.
Yeah.
What we've done is climate pollution. We have polluted the climate. Whereas the climate change is much more severe than it's meant to be because we have polluted it.
Okay, yeah. As in terms of plastic and stuff, yeah. Granted, yeah. In terms of carbon, very much disputed. Very much disputed.
Always changing. Yes, we're always going through.
Not really. You can look back in the
and
fossil
all these
records that people
wonderful
research
things,
in
but
the
we have
permafrost and
polluted
stuff like
it with
that.
what
But
we've put in the air and what we've done. The Industrial Revolution is literally a wonderful example of how you literally got indicators before and after of what the planet was like before the Industrial Revolution and after it.
What are you talking about? What are you demonstrating with the Industrial Revolution? The carbon, right? That's what you're measuring? That's the only measure that we have tracked before the Industrial Revolution? Is that what you're measuring?
Even though cows, methane. In the meat industry. You've literally got entirety scientists out there right now figuring out ways to destroy methane, which is why we're doing kelp farms. kelp forests, like literally eat methane.
I think one of the
Oh my
primary
God.
issues. I think one of the primary issues is that climate change, like modeling, like is very inaccurate. Like the
Correct.
further you go into the future, right?
Or the past,
So the issue, well, I mean, more
because it's
so the future.
disputed. Obviously, yes.
Yeah. So the issue is that like all over the world, like we're having all these discussions about like appropriate like public policy and just like even just like engineering and technical ways to deal with climate change, but like our projections going to the future are so like wildly inaccurate
Correct.
that you can't really build policies to do like to try to do what we're trying to do.
Well, they
Like,
they are. That's the issue. That the policies they're putting in place now to quote unquote deal with the climate change are hurting people. That's the problem. So you're trying to deal with future predictions that are wildly inaccurate, like you said, and you're hurting people in the now. And by the way, poor people, not rich people, poor people.
I agree with that. Like, so the issue is not whether or not climate change exists. Obviously exists.
Yep.
Obviously it's man-made. The issue is
I disagree
that
on that.
we have such a poor understanding of like in terms of a timetable and how it will impact different areas of the world and different countries that you can have highly like inefficient and broken policies like built around it. So like I don't think it's an issue that will be solved by humans. Like I think what's going to happen, I think the earth will continue to warm. I think that the climate will continue to change due to
It's natural cycles. Yeah, it will.
well, natural cycles and from massive amounts of pollution and human industrial activity around the world. And I think that you will see different parts of the world change drastically because
When
of
you
that.
say pollution, do you mean carbon or do you mean actual pollution like plastics and stuff?
All of it.
No, it's different because if you're talking about in terms of carbon, like most countries that are, like in the G7 are near zero, if not at zero, if not negative, actually.
You know, every
hold
time
on.
you eat a can of tuna,
Yeah,
you're pretty much
so
eating
real quick.
plastic
Wait,
now.
so
It's
when-
actually impossible. Then they've proven it. That if you look at a cans of tuna,
Improve
and
it.
you go in
Impossible to what? I'm sorry.
So
Plastic to avoid
hold
plastic
on.
in tuna.
To avoid plastic,
hold on.
yeah, probably. I would agree. Yeah.
One second. So like when people say countries are carbon neutral, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
there's like a whole bunch of caveats to that as well.
Yeah,
There
I
are,
think,
yeah,
I think
granted.
the concept of carbon neutrality is not is very
Yeah,
flawed.
exactly.
I don't think it's a real thing. I don't think
so
you
for
can
example,
actually.
So measuring carbon isn't, but carbon. Okay, all right. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So when,
Totally
for
makes
example,
sense.
when a country says they're carbon neutral and they like plant trees to become carbon neutral, you're not actually solving the problem of carbon not being released to the atmosphere, right? The real issue is the carbon being released to the atmosphere, and sort of you could say, hey, we planted these many trees to kind of overset the effect in the long term, sure, but like it doesn't really overset the effect in the immediate sense. So like that whole idea of carbon neutrality is like in itself is kind of misleading.
And when it comes
Okay,
to that,
so
they're
there's
actually
something
coming up with
to,
plants that can eat more
speak
carbon, if
on
that makes sense.
while
So
ago.
the genetic side of it, they are producing bushes and trees, which will hopefully grow quickly and also be able to eat a lot of the bad shit that we are producing. Like they are coming up with it. There was a recent one I saw, well, not recent, I guess, but it was like a year ago where the scientists came up with a tree. The tree would like technically eat a lot of shit, but it just would take forever to grow, which
Yeah,
doesn't.
Okay,
I
let's
wanted
let-
to
let's
I
let
wanted to bring
Lotus-
up
Lotus
something
get in.
that's very related to this. So whenever we were talking about, say, the say undisputed nature of climate change.
Correct. There you go.
When I say undisputed, yes, it is true that it is the case that it is not the case that it's not completely disputed, but rather there is a large and overwhelming scientific consensus, right? And it's not necessarily the case. Like someone had made the claim, oh, it's true because they say it's true. No, that'd be argumentum ad populum.
There you go. Okay,
bandwagon
perfect.
logical fallacy.
Mhm.
What I'm more so pointing towards is if you check here, I linked to you a meta-analysis. This was a study of 88,125 climate-related papers published since 2012. And what is found here within the meta-analysis is that there's a 99.99% consensus among scientific literature, peer-reviewed, evidentiary-based papers that show that man influences climate change.
Nobody declined that. Nobody said man does anything by its nature would. Ontologically, anything would impact climate change.
The consensus is that it's having a significant impact.
Correct. That's the problem. That's the problem. Where you're saying significant, that's not proven.
I
It
think
is
that's
proven.
what
No,
they-
it's not.
meta-
No, it's not. That's the point.
I
Okay, so let me get this straight. So you guys are having problems with the way that they measure carbon neutrality, but you have no qualms with the way they measure the contribution of carbon to begin with, or that even our contribution of carbon is a problem to begin with. By the way, like that's the presupposition there.
I'm gonna ask this question because it's actually relevant. Do you believe it's normal?
The presupposition is that carbon is the problem, right? That the carbon contribution.
Wait, let her ask her question.
That's not true? Okay.
Do you
Can I
believe that
respond
it's
to the
normal
claim
for the
about the
planet
paper
during
that I
climate
posted?
change, like the normal, like natural climate change, for it to burn the amount of fuel and petrol that we are burning? Do you believe that's normal for the climate to do that itself?
Nothing is normal. Nothing that we do is normal. By its nature, nothing we do is normal.
You believe it's normal for it itself,
No.
the planet, to burn the plastics that we're currently
No,
burning,
obviously.
naturally and unnaturally, into the air?
Normal as in nature? No, it's not normal, obviously.
Wait, I
Right. So
specifically
you
want to
don't
talk about
believe
the
that the
paper that I
amounts.
linked in regards.
Is that your stat? Is your status? Do you want to return to normal, quote unquote, nature? Because by that logic, just kill all humans.
Wait, before we get to that, wait, Shiny Beater, what would it take
Uh-huh.
for you to believe
Uh-huh.
that humans are having a significant impact on the climate?
You would have to indisputably prove that the carbon contribution that we make, because that's undeniable, obviously, that's a problem. That's what you would have to prove.
So wait, Shiny Beater.
Yes.
Here's what I've done. I've linked to you a meta-analysis of 88,125 climate-related papers, and the finding is, quote, we conclude with high statistical confidence that the scientific consensus on human-caused contemporary climate change expressed as a proportion of total publications exceeds 99.99% in peer-reviewed scientific literature. That is the quote, that it is overwhelmingly man-made, human-caused, as per the scientific consensus, and the evidence is 88,125 papers strong.
What is the problem, dude? What is the problem? I'm not saying that we're not contributing carbon, because by that logic, you could easily just go to the Industrial Revolution and prove it. Bam, done.
I said caused by man. Yeah, so
Yes. What is caused? What is caused? What is the problem?
Contemporary climate change. Oh wait, so you're not denying that man changes the climate and man is overwhelmingly.
It's that's indisputable. It doesn't make any sense to dispute that.
Oh wait, you're not disputing that? Then what the fuck are you disputing?
All right, so you never listened to what I was saying. Go figure.
Wait, no, sorry, Shiny Bear, you didn't hear or listen. You didn't hear correctly what Cogito was saying.
Okay, repeat it.
By Cogito, I mean Lotus.
Repeat it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
because Lotus, you didn't hear
claim,
that thing.
Yeah, no, my claim is that the scientific consensus is that climate change is human caused, and you absolutely disputed that prior. So
That climate change is human caused.
I'm glad.
Huh?
Yeah,
Huh?
that's the yeah, I linked it to you. A meta-analysis of 88,125 climate-related papers, 99.99.
Well, okay. Hold on. Before you keep going.
Lotus, you're repeating yourself.
Yeah, you are. Like
well, he said, huh? Like he did.
Yeah, because you're not listening to my argument. You're not listening to what I'm saying. To prove to me that you would have to prove essentially that climate change, like what is that? What is it that we're causing the problem? Like what problem is it that we're causing? Because obviously carbon contribution, obviously it's us. It's undisputable.
Yeah, and
so
back
that's
in
why
the 19th century, I think it's like 18.
Lotus, he's talking about the
1890,
severity. He doesn't agree that the severity is from human causes.
Well, right now he's talking about the mechanism. So I think it was like in the 1890s that the first paper was published, talking about the greenhouse effect of carbon dioxide. The fact that when carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere, more solar irradiance is trapped. Like we've known about that.
Yes, that's true.
At least we had the first knowledge was like 100 years ago. Okay, so if carbon dioxide traps more solar radiation, which is what gives heat to the planet. It logically follows that if we pump more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, that normally wouldn't more than the Earth takes back in because there's a carbon cycle.
As in the Earth is not a living ecosystem and it doesn't deal with the changes in the okay. For example, tell me, okay, for example, if what you're saying is true, you would be able to tell me what the percentage of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was in the 1960s and now, and show me a stark increase.
Yeah, Yeah.
No, wait,
Actually,
wait,
unironically,
wait,
I want
there's
you to look
a-
inside chat. No, hold on. No, wait. I posted inside
can
chat
do that.
the levels of the levels of CO2
We've
in the
done
atmosphere
that.
from
Wait,
NASA.com. If you
Yeah.
go inside chat, you can see the stark increase starting at the Industrial Revolution.
wait, he
You can
put
look
it
at
After
today,
at
show it
1960s would be
not
after the
only
Industrial
how-
Revolution. Yeah, because what you said was
Okay, wait,
uh-huh.
and the word stark. Okay, gotta be careful about this. So carbon dioxide is very small as a percentage of the atmosphere, but it doesn't take a huge increase in the like percentage of carbon dioxide to have like a reasonable effect on the climate, right? We're not talking about, it's not like a 50% increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, right? We're talking about like fractions of percents, but those, they've done the math to link that like the percent to like how much warming there is in the atmosphere, and it's not just carbon dioxide, it's also
Okay.
That's established in the meta-analysis. By the way,
the
I
starting
highly
the
recommend you check out the scientific.
Again, you throw out all the stats, which are fine. Nobody's denying those. That the problem is the conclusion. It's a not like it's a non sequitur. You're saying that because this happened, that's why. That's not true at all. For example, the global temperature of Earth has varied wildly by a lot of degrees.
Starting point. Hold on. The starting point of the analysis to show the increase really matters, and you can
Yes, but
lie and
why?
deceive with these graphs and with these data collections and what you show by just picking a very convenient starting point to show a quote unquote sharp increase in whatever you're looking for.
That's true as well, but that applies to both sides.
Hold on. Wait. I'm so sorry. You can go back 800,000. I mean, if
Uh-huh.
you have any data
Yep.
going back more than 800,000 years, showing that carbon levels were ever higher than they are now, I would love to see that.
Yeah, but that's the burden of proof. The burden of proof is on you. You're saying it's causing it. The burden of proof is on you. You would have to go back and show me that 800,000 years ago was lower.
We demonstrated it.
I have a question.
We
I have a
demonstrated
question.
according
I
to
have a
all
question.
knowledge that we're capable of fucking collecting with 99.99% fucking
I have a
confidence
question.
and
May I ask a
consensus
question?
that this is caused by human activity.
We
And
just
Nobody's denying it's caused by humans, man. Christ.
These scientists are like religious figures of today. They really
I
are.
ask a question?
Oh god, dude. Jesus. Like
They're
legit.
modern day
They just quote them and hope that it just makes the argument for them, as if that's an argument. Yeah, it's an appeal to fallacy.
No, I was
Appeal to
explaining what the
authority.
actual.
Sorry, yeah, you know what I meant. Yes.
Go to authority.
You know what I meant. Yes.
All right, I want to ask a question and maybe segue this to a more interesting aspect of this topic.
Sure.
So, regardless of what we think the cause of climate change is, all that sort of stuff,
Uh-huh.
it seems like the consensus is that it's obviously happening. So, what do you think? What do you think should be done about it? Like, obviously, a lot of people around the world they've identified carbon as being the primary issue. So, therefore, we need to reduce carbon production as
Well,
much as possible.
that's precisely the issue. That right there. Because if you tell me like pollution is a problem, sure, I granted. Like plastic pollution, all of that nonsense. But carbon being the problem, that is not proven.
Okay. So taking the whole carbon debate out of this completely and just looking at the effects of climate change, what's happening around the world, rising temperatures, rising water levels, changes in ecosystems, and that sort of thing.
All three of those things happen naturally with or without us. By the way.
Okay. Yeah. That's
The scale at which you're granting that this is like a catastrophe, that's entirely made up.
So, okay,
It's a
so
crisis.
you're
Apparently,
denying the entire issue.
it's a crisis. Apparently,
That's the point. It's not a crisis.
Hang on.
Okay,
Sure.
So make sure that we're speaking one at a time, please.
Okay.
Can we make sure that we're speaking one at a time, please? Like I know it's a passionate topic. It's climate change. Just make sure you guys are speaking one at a time. It's getting hectic.
What I would like to segue the conversation to, because I think it's a more interesting discussion, is what do you think about policies around the world today and how various countries are approaching the issue?
Who are you asking?
So, as opposed to like
No, who are you asking? Who are you asking that question to?
the consensus at this point is that okay, globally we need to cut down carbon production as much as possible.
Mhm.
So
at what cost? That's
Correct.
the question.
Exactly.
So what I'm-
Exactly,
so
dude.
my personal opinion is that I think it's a futile effort, because I think that even if okay, so if you subscribe to the idea that carbon is the primary driver of climate change, then I think that it's a fool's errand anyway. We're going to keep producing more carbon all across the world. So, given that, what do you think should be done to mitigate the effects of climate change? Are we talking about, I'm thinking about it in terms of what sort of engineering projects, what sort of environmental cleanup efforts, what sort of uh, public policy efforts, that sort of thing. Like what like actionable items versus like what we're doing now, which is just arguing over like, oh, okay, like this is being caused by this or not. Like there are physical effects happening in the world. Like what what do you think are effective strategies to mitigate negative effects associated with climate change?
So I can't remember who it is exactly, but there's a man or woman out there who made a like a plastic cleaning device that worked really, really well. Basically, they stuck it in the water, you let it go, and it just picked up all the plastic, and the only thing you had to do was like remove it from the nets that it caught it in. That's one solution. The issue is it's not funded very well, so it can't be mass produced. So we do actually have people out there using like sustainable and long-term like heating sources without having to use petrol and fuel, but they're not funded, so they're not sustainable, if that makes sense. So you've got lots of different options out there. It's just no one's willing to fund it, so it's actually mass produced and it's able to be massively like globally used. There's just so many different things you can look at.
Do you deny? Do you deny?
There-
Do you deny that policies to reduce carbon hurt the poor population globally? Not even just in the U.S. Globally. Do you deny that?
Everyone.
Do you deny? No, no, no. Specifically and targeted. No, because rich people don't give a fuck. They'll just find other alternatives. But listen. Do you deny that all policies that we have
The poor is going to hurt the impoverished the most. However,
then
it's going to hurt everyone in the end.
no, it doesn't. Like rich people don't give a fuck. It mostly hurts poor people. It mostly hurts poorly developed nations.
Wait, are we talking about climate change? Or
Yes.
Are we talking about like
Policies to reduce quote unquote climate change by reducing carbon. They all policies that have been offered hurt poor nations.
Because Shiny, correct me if you're wrong, but I think the argument that you're making is that if wealthy countries institute climate policies that damage industries, damage economic activity, the primary groups across the world that are harmed by that are those in the developing world. Is
Correct.
that your
But even within its own nation, the poorer class will also be hurt.
Yes, and the poor within those countries. I think that's
That's the issue. That's the issue.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true, and I think that is the primary issue: is how do you solve that problem? Like, I think
Exactly, but people that like blindly follow climate change as being like this ideological, monolith, they say, no, 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 we have to do everything to stop it. It is like a crisis. No, in 30 years, nobody will be like, bro, get the fuck out of here.
There is a
Climate Accord
serious
does.
problem with stigmatizing the burning of coal and the using of fossil fuels, because the burning of coal and the using of fossil fuels allows people to heat their homes and live like kings and queens for those who live in cold parts of the world that become cold. If you stigmatize burning coal and using oil and natural and burning natural gas to
The
heat
dogs
people's
are yelling
homes,
outside.
and
Bring
that-
them in.
Sorry. That was me. Sorry.
Someone
I
needs to-
muted. Yeah, sorry.
So if we're going to stigmatize, and Justin Trudeau in Canada, Justin Trudeau is Mr. Climate Change. Like parts of Canada get fucking cold,
yeah,
and
you're talking about
and
the heat pump issue.
right, they need to heat their homes to survive those winters. And if we're going to stigmatize, as leadership does, the
Mhm.
burning of fossil fuels to heat people's homes, then I think we're fucked as
Correct.
a human
For those
species.
people, it's not luxury; it's survival. Like nobody in America, we're very privileged.
Here, I'll extend an olive branch, and I'll just assume like Justin Trudeau probably said something really stupid about like Canadians heating their homes with coal and like that being the problem.
Well,
which would be a stupid thing to say because that's all.
It's
That's
a
the vast minority of like what's actually.
It's a policy issue, and it's a pretty controversial issue in Canadian politics right now, because what's going on is that the federal government and various provincial governments are mandating electric heating systems to replace like oil heaters basically. But the issue is that one, oil, like oil heating systems are actually affordable. People can actually use them. People already have them. That sort of thing. Like the alternative that they're proposing isn't actually viable, and so it's basically hurting poor people in parts of the country that rely on them to keep themselves warm in the winters, which is
And
the majority of the country.
and
Yeah,
and
it's so
I'm going to
carbon
say
tax.
something, and it may be controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. If we are able to get it on a large scale, it's going to become more affordable. At the moment, it's not affordable
Clown
because
world,
there's not a
clown
lot
world.
of
That's what
it's not a
socialism
lot
said.
enough.
100 million people dead later.
it is
It's
so it is
guys.
taxes
I need to
are-
talking.
I
Shut
agree.
the fuck up. Thank
Agree.
you.
I agree with that.
Guys,
Like, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but like,
Here, hold
there
on. Let
oh,
Rampage
sorry.
stop.
Go ahead.
Let Rampage finish. Go Rampage. Finish.
you have to start somewhere. Unfortunately, it is costly at the moment. However, it's only costly because it's not mass produced and it's not mass like workable. If you're putting it on a mass scale and you start somewhere, it's going to become more affordable because you're going to have more people working in the industry, which means you're going to have to make it like more affordable. That's just
So,
like a fact. Most things aren't affordable like Ferraris because they're not mass produced because they're like meant to be expensive. Not mass produced because they're meant to be expensive. You mass produce it, it becomes less expensive. Even diamonds are guilty of the same thing. Pearls are guilty of the same thing. That's why black pearls, when they used to be thrown away, are now like heavily invested in because people have white pearls everywhere. They want black ones now.
An initiative like the heat pump legislation in Canada should be done through subsidy in order to build industries that can allow massive production of electric alternatives that would be better. That should not be done by mandate. You shouldn't be forcing poor and working people across the country to purchase new systems that are not ready. It should be done through subsidies of
I
those
think you should
industries to
fix
get
it
the
if you're
price
willing to
points
fund it.
to get the price points to the point low enough so that they are viable alternatives. And then at that point maybe you want to morally
No.
make the argument that, oh, this is a mandatory thing. You don't do it beforehand, and that's what they're trying to do, and that's why it will ultimately fail.
I
so carbon
I get what
taxes
you
are a
mean, but if
thing.
you can force it and fund it, I think you should. So if you're gonna force something, in my view, if you're gonna force something like this on someone, you should be willing then to pay for the protection of the device heating their home and also the repairs needed for it. You should not be making the people that you force it onto to repair it. You should be able to repair it yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
And
so
like
carbon.
I think that it's not being done sufficiently, so it's yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah.
So carbon taxes are a thing, and what I'm thinking of as far as Justin Trudeau is going is a woman, and she did not indicate she was rich by any stretch because she was indicating how she was struggling to pay the bills. She was expressing concerns about a carbon tax or some kind of a tax associated with the use of fossil fuels, and Justin Trudeau was just like, yeah, we're going to go with this tax. We're going to go with this new tax. So basically, fuck the middle class. Seriously, carbon taxes to deal with climate change. What the fuck?
Well, it is an unfortunate. There is an unfortunate reality where that there are people who are easier to legislate things on because they don't have as much money. Like I'm saying, this is bad. Like this is just it's like one of the ways that our governments work sometimes, which we should address. Like because instead of like targeting the oil companies, who have like huge pocketbooks and armies of lawyers and lobbyists, you end up targeting the small, like the people who don't have lawyers and lobbyists
The
to
taxpayers.
move this. Yeah, even when this isn't, when that isn't the most effective method.
Well,
There's a similar
yeah.
thing with
And
recycling. Like recycling is good, right? But the real problem is all the people producing all of these plastics and all of these like disposable things, and they lobbied to make a recycling labels put on everything and make it the responsibility of the consumer when that doesn't actually work.
Well, plastics allow us to live like kings and queens. They really do. Plastics
Well,
are
I
amazing.
mean,
and another problem with a lot of these green energy initiatives though too is that there's also the political aspect of a lot of the primary drivers of like adopting specific technologies, which obviously there's tons of different things being discussed. A lot of that is being driven by lobbyists because if you can successfully lobby that, oh, this particular type of heat pump is the most environmentally friendly and we have to have these, then you can also sell those and make a fucking killing. So the issue is that it comes down to not the debate on a political level comes down to not what is the most efficient way to solve the problem. It's just something that's being taken advantage of to basically make as much money as possible, and
Well, that's true about
and consequences be damned, you know. So, but
that
it's
is
yeah.
that's true to an extent about every political issue, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah, it is.
like,
It certainly is true, but it's particularly consequential when you're talking about energy technology. You know, energy, because it's such a baseline integral.
well, I mean, it's
Thing.
consequential, yes, but that's just
It's
saying
very
that
consequential, yeah.
the policy is consequential, yes, and there are going to be lobbyists, but that doesn't mean that we just like default to doing nothing because we actually absolutely need to do something. We need to do a lot of stuff.
I agree.
And
I
it's
agree
just,
with.
you need to take that into account.
I mean, we
I
can
agree
say
with
that
that, but
we can
I
say that we need to address, you know, climate change. We can say that we need to address carbon emissions by humans all day long. But like I said, like the fossil fuels are there under the ground and under
I
the
don't
earth,
think
and they're right there for the taking. And we are limiting in North America and other places around the world. We are limiting our ability to harvest the earth for our, you know, betterment
Yeah,
of humankind. Now, the Middle
no,
East
for the
isn't doing
benefit
that.
of ourselves. Like
It-
we need
yeah,
to. The thing is,
to
we
heat
are
our
in the
homes.
best.
Yes,
We
to
are in
heat
the
our
best.
homes.
We are in the best position. All right, as like the richest part of the world, we can subsidize our lower classes if we really put our mind to it, and we don't need to extract that oil out of the earth and put it into the atmosphere, because what happens when we do that is it actually harms disproportionately the poorest people of the world, because those are the places most affected by climate change, by natural disasters of increasing severity. Like, we are hurting the poorest part of the world for our own benefit.
Our natural disasters.
The U.S. is getting hurt just as much.
I mean, again, you can say that natural disasters are increasing over time, and maybe they are. If it depends on the starting point you look at. And like I said, I mentioned the Middle East. Let's talk about China. China doesn't give a fuck about all this climate change and the climate change crisis. China doesn't give a fuck.
I don't think that's true, Depth Charge.
Damn straight. What are you talking about? That's not true.
Hold on, let me hold on.
They
So China has. Okay, so first of all, okay, so it's actually really interesting because you're right that China historically hasn't given a fuck, right? And you can say that, but China actually agreed to more climate accords than the U.S. did as currently, right? That's number one. Number two is like even countries like even countries like India, for example, right, which is another polluter, one of the significant polluter of the world, right? So I was actually looking this up, but apparently India is on target to reduce their carbon emission by a significant margin. And I don't talk about the carbon neutrality by planting more trees shit. No, I mean they are making efforts to reduce their carbon emission, despite the fact that India is a far more poor country, and they themselves would actually suffer more under limiting their carbon emission, right? But they themselves are actually doing that. So,
Oh,
like,
a government hurting its own people? I've never heard of that before.
But like again,
why would they do that? Why?
I can't think of a single reason why they would. Can't think of one. Go figure.
China is building
maybe
lots of new
it's
coal
because
plants.
climate change is like an actual problem that probably.
Brother, are you that naive? Like, for real?
I mean, you could.
Wait, what's your other excellent?
Don't ask a question like that about the naive question. Please don't ask that question.
How is that not a viable answer? You're saying like you know, if everybody put glitter, everything would smell nice. It's the same thing. Like you're saying.
So what's the explanation? What is your
global interest? What do you mean? Like a nation has its own interests.
But think about the
It's literally more profitable to just go against climate change. I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
It's more profitable to go against climate change. You for real?
Yes, like if you want to get
How? Please explain how. Please explain how.
Because the big oil companies have a lot of money that they will give to people to deny climate change, and they do regularly.
Long run,
governments,
the implementation of renewable energies will create more sustainable economic growth than what the future holds for continuing our reliance on non-renewable energies. Doesn't matter when, eventually we're going to run out of certain non-renewables.
So what would that grant? What?
Renewable energy would prove to have more sustainable growth in the future, even if short term it would hurt. Of course it will.
So there's a lot of money to be made with government subsidies, and to get these sweet government subsidies in these green, energy companies, you got to go along with the climate change narrative. And like I said, we can say that climate change is a crisis all day long. We're running out of crises to declare. There's so many.
Oh God,
crises
dude, Jesus
that the human-
Christ, man.
that the- I know Jesus Christ. Yes, I
Yes, you're
believe in
right.
Jesus.
You're right. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
agreeing with you. Yes.
Excellent. So, like I said, we're running out of crises to declare. There's a climate crisis. There's a virus crisis. There's an economic crisis. There's a poverty
God.
crisis. We're running out of crises to declare. And so, I mean, just you can declare anything you want a crisis, and but again, to go along with the climate change narrative, that's how you get those sweet government subsidies.
Okay, but here's my
why-
problem with this idea of like climate change being like a farce, of just bullshit, right? Even if we took out the calls of like the Just Stop Oil people and the nuts who exist,
Mhm.
okay? How does that still not address that we cannot continue to be reliant on fossil fuels forever? There are just not enough of them out there.
Nobody's saying
We
don't,
cannot
bro. All we're saying
sustainably-
is literally just stop rushing it. It's not a crisis. You want to phase it out? Do your thing, bro. Do your thing. It's not a crisis.
I think the primary issue, like one of the things everyone debates about this is like, oh, we need to transition from oil and gas, The part of the problem is that the way we use oil and gas is really fucking stupid and inefficient. So I don't think.
Well, by that logic, just go nuclear. Why don't they just go nuclear? If you care so much about it, why not just go nuclear?
We should go nuclear.
Well, precisely. But they care so much, but they don't. They care so much, but they don't. So please explain.
I mean, there are
a zero
people-
fault
There are
system.
climate change organizations that support nuclear, right?
Huh?
Yeah.
One more time.
And
One more time.
There are climate change organizations that support.
Yes, yes. Do you see? Okay, if you're saying, oh my God, India, the U.S., China, they care so much about climate change that they're trying to reduce it by all these like viable means. Hold on. By all these viable means, they're trying to reduce it. They care so much, even if it's at the hurt of their own population, because it's a crisis. Right. All right. So why are they not going nuclear? We all agree it's much better than all renewable resources.
Let me respond
Why?
to that, right? So India is actually heavily.
Heavily what? You cut out. You
China
cut
is
out.
doing what? Huh?
You cut
So
out. Heavily
India is
what?
actually- India is actually heavily heavily investing into their nuclear technology right now, right? India is actually in forefront of research when it comes to like nuclear reactors. Specifically, they're trying to create like thorium reactors, right? So like that's actually true. I believe China is doing the same thing, although I'm not as aware.
Sure. So where are they?
China's position. So like India
China's
is actually
building
doing
lots
that,
of coal
right?
plants. Lots of coal plants in China being built.
So I don't know about China specifically, okay? But India is specifically not only India is meeting their climate change like goals, they're actually exceeding it. On top of that, they're also investing into nuclear energy currently.
Okay.
I have a lot of.
So what percentage of their energy is nuclear? Please go ahead. Tell me.
I don't know what percentage.
Oh,
right?
okay.
But
All right.
and they're
Wait,
still,
you think it's
I
gonna-
would
wait,
imagine
it
it's
should be
probably a low
instant?
percentage.
Oh, okay.
But like
So what?
It's going to take time for them to invest into nuclear energy. India is not a wealthy country by any
Okay,
means,
so
right?
we are
It doesn't
wealthy.
have
Why are
the
we not doing
One
it?
second. What do you mean? Why are we not?
Oh, sorry. I'm in America. Why are we not?
America's issue is that America doesn't have the political will, and fucking
Does they
half
have the what?
population of America doesn't believe. Hold on, like
will.
this is not a problem that like Japanese people in my country we don't like in face, but like a lot of Americans don't fucking believe in climate change as a concept.
Well,
as a
I
human
don't believe.
made concept.
Yeah,
I don't
see, that's
believe.
my-
When-
That sounds like a whole lot of gish gallop, dude.
Hannah, I don't believe in your religious beliefs. I really don't believe in this religion.
Okay, so
don't.
this is the problem. So if you don't believe in human-made climate change, advocating for nuclear energy is going to be much more difficult on a national basis, right? I would argue that for us, for Japan, okay.
For who?
advocating
You
nuclear
keep cutting
energy is
out.
Also really difficult. Okay.
For who?
Am I cutting out?
Yeah, a little bit. Like every once in a while.
For
He said
Japan.
Yeah, he said Japan.
In Japan. You're in Japan?
For my,
Because
for
No,
my
he's not.
country.
He's
For
not in
my
Japan.
country- For my country.
Which is?
Okay, it is Japan.
Oh, okay.
It is also difficult to advocate for nuclear energy because we have a different set of issues. Okay, that's a whole other like. So yeah, but even for my country, I would advocate for.
But it's a
nuclear
crisis.
But,
It's a
like,
crisis. Why are we not doing it? We care so much. Why are we not doing it? That we care so much, dude.
Because it's called living in a
because fossil
democracy.
fuels are more profitable.
Wait,
hold on. The problem is that
Funny
even
as
if
hell.
scientists believe that it is a crisis,
Uh-huh.
and I believe that it's a crisis,
And mainstream media and most politicians, they all believe it's a crisis. They all believe it. Everybody agrees that.
You really just don't care at all, do you, Shiny Peter?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about, dude? What are you talking
It's
about?
just the way you're talking, right? You're not talking as though you're in a conversation with somebody.
How is it
You
not?
get what I mean?
No, I do not.
Because the words you're using like buzzwords. You're
Like what?
just saying things that are tertiary.
Like what?
Climate change is a buzz. Climate change.
Oh God! Exactly. You're.
Climate change is a buzz term.
It is.
That's it. You just took the link from the word I said because I said buzzword, and you're like, oh, buzzword. I can relate.
So you really don't see the connection there. Okay. All right. All right.
No, I see the connection.
Okay.
I'm just saying that connection doesn't move the conversation forward.
Neither does you saying what you're saying right now. Like you literally just saying, no, you don't care. You don't care. You don't care. You really don't care. Yes.
We're not having very high IQ conversations right now.
I'm trying to make the conversation more productive. That's the thing that I want to do. Like,
Mhm.
if you really wanted this conversation to be productive,
Uh-huh.
show some sort of like inquisitiveness, some like interest in what the people are saying instead of just like.
How is it not? I've responded point by point. You go on a tirade of points, a whole dialect, and then you expect me not to address. What do you want me to do? You want me to talk for 15 minutes like you did? No, I'm gonna address a point that you made.
We're not going to talk.
Initially, you made the claim. So initially, you made I think you mentioned China. Right? So initially, you made these countries, China and India.
One more time, you're breaking up. Yep.
Breaking up.
So initially, you made the claim that China and India weren't doing anything. Now, I don't know enough about China to make the claim, but I can certainly tell you that India is doing a lot, right? I don't know if it's going to be enough. Like that's like a subjective metric, but India is doing a lot. But then you shifted the conversation to okay, if India is doing that a lot, why aren't the United States? But I wasn't mentioning the United States.
That is not at all how the conversation went down.
That's literally how the conversation.
That's literally not at all how it went down. That's literally not at all how it went down. We started talking about nuclear, and then we brought up the point that.
Right.
Okay, so you skipped that entire conversation. Now you're trying to frame it as if it was that way. That's not how it went down.
So the conversation went. Hold on. The conversation went like.
Sure.
So you said, hey, why isn't China and all these other countries doing anything? Then I mentioned, well, I don't know about China, but India is doing certain things. India is actually exceeding the goal, their initial goal set forth by the global community, actually, right? And then you said, well, okay, if we care about climate change so much, why not invest in nuclear? Well, I'm like, okay, well, yeah. First of all, like a bunch of different countries are already investing in nuclear. India, including India, is actually trying to invest in nuclear energy. Although there are a bunch of different caveats and a bunch of different problems with that itself, right? Then you moved on to okay, then what about the United States? If climate change is such a crisis, why doesn't the United
Am I gonna get to reply now, or are you just gonna keep going on the tirade?
actually addressing the?
Am I gonna get to talk now, or are you gonna go on the tirade?
Okay.
Can I reply now?
Say how you were addressing the point.
Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and address the point. First of all, you're conflating things. I didn't say that India and China weren't doing things because China, I do believe, is doing things to reduce carbon change. You think they're not? Like they were under like world criticism for not doing anything for the longest time. So they finally started acting on it. So yes, they are. I never made the claim that China and India weren't. I never made the claim that doing so would grant them the virtue of being this, like these great countries that care so much about climate change. There could be obviously, there could be a gazillion different reasons for why a country would do that. Sorry, I'm playing Dota right now. There could be a gazillion different reasons for why a country would want to go do something like reducing the carbon emissions that we have. There are a gazillion different reasons. If we want to go into that, we can go into that if you like. Now, why I brought up the point of the nuclear energy is because no country is trying to improve like efficiently or pragmatically or practically, whatever means that you want to say that they are, they're not. For example, Germany moved away from carbon emissions and they moved away from nuclear. Not emission, from carbon, as in burning fossil fuels, and they moved away from nuclear as well. And they started developing all these different types of renewables resources like wind and solar that are not reliable in a place like Germany. Only in very particular places is it consistently reliable. For example, near the equator for solar energy, etc. So. And then was it you or was it somebody else that tried to claim that I wasn't trying to move the conversation forward because you just conflated like 4 different points.
That was me who was claiming that.
Sorry.
I ain't gonna lie to y'all off the record.
He just baked the fuck out of y'all. I ain't gonna lie.
Like you're literally just trying to say that I wasn't trying to move the conversation. I am. You're just refusing to listen to me.
So everybody's listening. So I will say this about the climate change discussion, the politics and the science behind it is that it is difficult to have these discussions. One, like I hear this all the time directed at me and others who have these criticisms toward the narrative of man-made climate change, and that is, well, you just don't believe in climate change. How can you not believe in climate change? Like,
Agreed.
there is no reasonable discussion to be had after that. There really isn't.
Agreed.
I mean, it is true that it's like at a fundamental, like factual level, like for us, where like it's hard to have that conversation because one side is perceived, right, as just in almost in denial of reality, which is fair. Like it sucks
That's your first
for
problem.
Yeah,
That's
it
your
sucks
first
for
problem,
people.
right?
That is a perception.
You automatically assume, and I'm not talking about anybody in here before anybody starts spazzing out, right? That is the first problem that you're gonna run into, is that when you have people who are simply responding to the arguments that are being made when it comes to climate change, and then they're being accused of being
Shut down.
basically
They're being shut down.
denialists,
Yep.
right? They're accused of being denialists when, in all actuality, we're just critiquing the arguments. I shouldn't say we, because I could give fuck all about climate change, to be honest with you. But when
You made your point.
yeah, that is it's strange how we automatically, try to diminish the other side when they're bringing up, in my opinion, sort of valid criticisms as to why you have these, people who are arguing that climate change is such a massive issue, and then, the counter arguments are just being shut down by utter straw mans of the
I've heard
opposing
that
side.
there's been a climate crisis for over 20 years. I have literally heard there's been a climate crisis, in the time I've been following this, for over 20 years.
It's been longer.
So it gets
Yeah.
old. It gets old. It's been longer than that. Yes, it gets old. Like,
Yeah,
again, the word crisis has become meaningless in these discussions.
Correct. Same thing with the racism issue. Same thing. Yep.
It's gonna keep getting old as things keep getting worse. Yeah, it's gonna.
Are
It's gonna keep
things
being
really?
like that. Things
Are things
are
really
indeed
getting
worse. It's crazy to say, but like.
Okay, but like you have yet to say why it's getting worse. Like that's the issue. Okay, I guess we're moving back onto like why it's an issue. But like, why is it that it's getting worse? Why do you think it's getting worse?
I wanted to cover your Germany point because I just wanted to say you said because you made a broad statement, right? You said,
Which one?
No country. You said a statement like none of these countries are really taking meaningful steps towards nuclear energy, right? Like, that's what you said, and then you pointed to Germany.
Yes.
You pointed to one example, one country, to say that none of these countries.
Okay, well the U.S. is another. I mean, we could go down the list if you like.
Yeah. Well, what about France?
What did France do? I'm not aware of France. What did they do?
Nuclear.
France has an enormous amount. They get the majority of their power from nuclear.
Are they moving away or are they moving towards more of it?
More of it.
Then granted, France is doing the right thing. There you go.
Okay. So yeah, there are countries that are. I just wanted to point.
I never said that there was no country that didn't care. I never said that.
Yeah, and there's.
But like to claim that you care and then now move towards, nuclear energy, that seems hypocritical to me.
Well, I would say it's not hypocritical. I don't think anyone.
Oh, go ahead.
Just really quick, just hold on. I promise I'll give you the floor. I just want to make sure Petito finishes his point, and then Trevman gets however you say your name. He gets next dips. Just real quick.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And I would say that this is a real thing because there's this idea of people being scared of nuclear energy in a similar way to the way you guys, that you're talking about people being scared of climate change, and that you think climate change isn't that big of a deal. And I would say that nuclear energy isn't like dangerous like people think it is, and because of that misconception of how dangerous nuclear energy is, and the Simpsons and Toxic Mr. Burns, makes people sometimes not want nuclear energy, and I would say that was what led to that happening in Germany. I think it was stupid of Germany to do that.
Agreed.
I think it was because of misconceptions people have about nuclear energy.
Agreed. I don't think we have anything wrong, but like you want to sometimes attribute it to misconception or just don't attribute to malice, or you could attribute to incompetence. You want to attribute that, but then for other things you don't. You're very selective with what you attribute it to. My point is there is probably not a single government on earth that actually cares. Like they don't care. The government, they have the self-interest in mind. There's not a single government out there that actually, at least a powerful one and a meaningful one, that actually cares. To think that governments that usually have the good of the people in their interest, that's naive. That's why I said that earlier. It wasn't just to like disparage your point. It's just that's a silly point. It has never. It's always been proven that all countries, most countries have a history of doing malicious things, not only to other people but to their own people. The U.S., for example, being one of them, and I support the U.S.
Do you think there's a meaningful difference between like a democracy and like an authoritarian country?
Of course.
Between the United States and
Of
China?
course.
Yeah. Well, but what do you think that difference is meaningfully?
What do you mean? In what sense?
Yeah, like, does that difference affect a country's actions, like its big actions in the world?
What do you mean? Because what I'm trying to get at is that no country actually cares for its people. Not really. They care for its self-interest. So if that self-interest so aligns with okay, but my point is that if it so aligns with like what's the word? An honorable motive, then they'll do so. But it's not because it's honorable. It's because it so aligns with their interest.
Okay, so like if a large portion of like a democracy, right? Like if a large portion of like the people in that like have a problem, right? That country might do something to fix that problem because if it's a democracy, it has the incentive to try and, keep those people alive so that they can vote for them, right? If they're in their party at least.
I'm not sure if it, hold on. Sorry, I was playing Dota. What are you what are you trying to get at with that point? Like, because you accept that it's true, right? That most countries only have their self-interest in mind.
I would say that it's true that governments,
Like, not the people, governments.
Governments have self-interest.
Yeah,
and
so
in countries that are like democratic, that interest at times coincides.
Yes, correct. So we agree.
Yeah, and I would say with climate change, since that affects a large portion of the people, that also affects those governments. So the governments have an interest to deal with climate change because it will affect so many of the people that it will also affect them.
Okay, let me get this straight. Do you think that
it's also politically popular
exactly
in some cases to like express those views to get to hopefully get
exactly
because you're declaring that there's a climate crisis. One of our major political parties in the United States has declared that there's a climate crisis. They're going to campaign on that.
And when you try to say that, there's multiple actors in the game that are stating that this is the case, so do they all have just, it's a giant conspiracy to think that they're all working together to, try to pass all these rulings? No, that's unnecessary. You don't need all of them to work together. You just need all of them to work in their own self-interest. So if it's in their self-interest to promote this kind of agenda, they will do so.
Well, the agenda is insane. Like
it is.
Current president of the United States
it is. I agree.
Wants to just not, no more oil. Like we're gonna phase out oil.
And then he goes back into OPEC to produce more oil. He's retarded. Yeah.
Through government action.
Correct.
And we're gonna limit and just refuse to allow for domestic exploration of fossil fuels in this country, the United States. Like that's insane.
Insane. Actually insane. And like I said, he went back into OPEC for more production. Retarded.
I mean, I think. Yeah, I think we have the capabilities. It's not like it's going to destroy the United States and not drill for more oil. But also, it is true that we have drilled more oil under Joe Biden than we have under Trump. But regardless of
that's violating a campaign promise of Joe Biden because he promised that there would be no new, fossil fuel exploration under a Joe Biden administration. And I guess we just don't. I guess we just shouldn't take.
This kind of a derail. I'm not gonna lie.
These campaign promises seriously at all.
This is a derail into presidency.
Joe Biden has been, talking about tax fairness, and we don't have tax fairness yet.
Yeah, nobody's going to dispute that. Presidents never follow through on all of their campaign promises. Yeah. But what I'll just say about the greater incentive thing, because that is what we talk about when we talk about big systems like that, is incentives, right?
Yeah.
And when we're talking about an incentive to advocate for climate change policies and stuff like that,
which you agree is the case, right?
I mean, some people have incentives, but I don't see where the broad incentive is coming from, right? Like with the oil companies, it's pretty easy to see, right? There are people already drilling oil, like they have oil rigs, they have all of these this infrastructure set up to drill oil, and they're making a bunch of money off of it. And if people stop buying oil, they're gonna lose all this money that they have, and so they have an incentive to not want that to happen. But on the other side, there are startups, there are newer companies that have some money, there's nuclear energy that has a degree of money, but solar energy and wind energy, sure, they have some startup capital, venture capital, but they don't have the same amount of like
Lobbying power.
infrastructural lobbying power, and like they don't have the same amount of money that these big oil companies have. So like my question is like, why would they be more powerful, better lobbyists than the oil companies?
There are plenty of these companies who are not oil companies who get sweet government subsidies and then they fail. So there is political will and there is successful lobbying to get, subsidies into quote unquote green energy, and then these companies
Look at
fail.
the auto industry. The auto industry lobbies heavily for electric vehicles. I mean,
True as hell.
Because there's government subsidies involved in that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Elon Musk and his companies are incredibly subsidized by the taxpayers.
They are hugely subsidized, but do you see like there's a bit of circularity going here? Like, because like before the electric cars were there, right? Before they had all these electric cars, like why would they want to like incentivize people to believe in climate change before they had all of this this big opportunity to make money from it, right? Like why not just manufacture like some other like simpler way to get subsidies if they can just manufacture like a crisis or something? Like why pick climate change? Like why is there like one thing?
And that's kind of like one of the reasons why I'm in an unenviable debate position on this topic, because I actually believe in anthropocentric climate change caused by carbon production, but I also think that all the green initiatives are completely fucking stupid. So it's like immediately it's like if I say I am against having a Green New Deal or against a lot or vehicle electrification or all these sorts of things, which I am, the automatic assumption is made that I don't believe in anthropocentric climate change, and I don't believe that carbon production is having an impact on the atmosphere. And then conversely, the other side thinks that because I don't believe in all of these green energy initiatives and all these sorts of things, I don't believe in the issue at all. So I mean, that's
or reality for that matter. We just don't believe in reality because you don't believe in climate change.
Yeah, so it's that's why the debate is so fucking so fucked around.
It's literally a religious faith, because there are non-scientists and some scientists who are not experts, or just people in general who are not experts on this shit, and they believe it because they trust the people who have studied this. Like there's a level of faith and a level of trust, in this belief that there's man-made climate change. And people say, "Oh no, there's no faith involved. It's just facts." Like really?
Well, when you say
climate change is definitely like there's massive amount, and I don't mean capital C climate change as a buzzword, but like human activity drastically impacts.
Wait, let me ask you a quick question. Are you like I'm gonna assume yes. I'm gonna give good faith. I want to say you believe statistics are very easily manipulated, right?
You can lie with statistics really easily.
Like you agree, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so like, is there not like a shred of doubt in your mind that you could have because you haven't looked at these numbers yourself? Like, there's not a shred of doubt in your mind that you could be wrong
about what?
About climate change being a gigantic, ginormous like crisis. Like it needs to be treated right now. Like there's not a shred of doubt.
That's not the case I'm making. I'm not saying that it's a giant crisis that needs to be addressed right now above all other things. Well, the claim that I'm making is...
Sorry if I conflated. Some of your voices sound similar.
The claim that I'm making is that climate change is driven by human activity. I think that's undeniable. I think that my issue with it,
I would agree,
as far from a debate perspective, is what do we do about it? And I think
no. The point is, do we need to do anything about it? That's the issue. Like, do we need to do anything about it? Because you're like the presupposition is that it's bad. Like whatever we're doing, it's horrible.
No. I think I think that the effects of what we're doing are bad. But I think
prove that. That's what we need to be proven. That right there. That it's like really bad. That's what we need to. What you need to prove. Burden of proof is on you.
Like I said, we can claim all day long that it's proven, that it's fact, that it's undeniable, that humans are significantly affecting the climate. We can say that all day long, and then act like it's as simple as gravity.
Correct.
That the Earth is round. It's really not that simple.
Oh God.
And so there are scientists, really smart people with PhDs who study this shit, who don't believe that humans have the same impact on the climate and temperature as others do. Like there is disagreement. That's what I think is lost in this. There's massive disagreement in the scientific communities about this 99% shit.
Yep.
Again, it depends on how the question's asked.
Yep.
As to what kind of results you get.
Exactly.
Okay, so now that's a factual claim. Like, do you have like counter evidence to say that it's much more divided in the scientific literature, scientific community, than that?
I have individual cases of scientists I've posted in this
Yeah, but
server
it's-
all the time of those scientists who doubt the narrative that humans are this significant contributor to climate change. Judith Curry's one of them.
But depth charge. When you say, hey, when you imply that it's not 99%, you must have counter evidence other than just like some individual scientists, right?
Surely I must have counter evidence. Really?
Because I'm asking, where do your opinion visual
Because
science?
I
You
know
cut out,
how
but
statistics
buddy, you cut out.
I know how statistics
Why am I
can go.
cutting
I know how surveys can go. I know how statistics can go.
Sure.
Again,
Sure.
you can ask a question and get 99% to agree with it. It depends on how it's worded. For one thing.
Sure. So, do you have any surveys that indicate that like that it's not 90? It's like way less than 99%, like significantly less.
I haven't said that I have evidence at all.
Okay, so
I said I've had. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand what made you think that it's way lower than 99%.
I didn't say it was way lower than 99%.
Well, you did say that there is a lot of disagreement within the scientific community.
I said there's disagreement. Sure, lots of disagreement. There is lots of disagreement in the scientific community.
Sure. Okay,
They
so that would
disagree
imply
with
less
each other
than
all the time.
99%. I mean, that would apply less than 99% agreement, right? Like, because we are making a very strong claim, right? I won't lie. Like, we're making a hell of a claim to say that 99%, of the science agrees on this. That is a claim that requires a lot of justification, right? But you are
there are serious claims being made, and that is that it's a fact, that it's an assurance that humans are absolutely 100% just as straightforward as a round planet. That the humans are affecting the climate significantly. That's a really bold statement.
I wouldn't put it that far. I would say like there are degrees of certainty. Like, I would say it's up there in like the past 95% category, and then like evolution is like at like 99%. Maybe I'd put climate change up to 96.
Yeah, and people have these beliefs with this amount of certainty who are not experts in these fields.
Yeah, but I mean, I also am not an expert in like geology, right? But I believe in plate tectonics with a similar amount of surety, even though I haven't studied plate tectonics much at all, right? Like, do you believe in plate tectonics with a good degree of certainty?
We choose to believe things with a high degree of certainty, even though we're not experts or have studied those fields very much. We do it all the time.
Yeah, exactly, but I wouldn't say that's faith, right? Like, it depends on like what the field looks like, right? And like there are things, and we have what do you call them? There are things like proxies. Like, we have proxies, right? That's how we like believe things in the world, right? Like, it's systems that are built up that we believe that we have good reason to trust, and it's not just because enough people told us so. It's because like we have been explained to at the levels we can understand. We have like researched it as far as it like makes sense for us to in that environment, and like there are all sorts of systems predicated on this, right? Like, to disbelieve in climate change, like, I would say because of how our systems are built up, like our scientific systems, our government systems, like all of these different systems are built up, to say that is not true, or to not have a high degree of certainty in that would mean I should logically also radically doubt plate tectonics, that I should also doubt to at least to agree, like, the moon landing, the event, it would bring everything down quite a few notches. Not like it would make everything equal level, but like
evolution.
Yeah, evolution, like
there is a level of faith. There absolutely is a level of faith. Is anybody here an evolutionary biologist? I mean,
I'm a biologist.
Evolutionary biologist.
I didn't specialize in that, no.
So, but yet we're gonna believe with a high degree of certainty that humans evolved from lower forms of life, and life sprung from a pile of goo or
Right.
mud or whatever. Because I've heard that claim made, that life emerged from a pile of mud a billion years ago or whatever. Like okay,
Well, depth charge. I have friends who are evolutionary biologists. Do you want me to bring them?
I mean, you can bring them in this
You can-
server,
you
then we can chat in this VC if you want. Sure.
Yeah, we
That's-
can discuss. Like I'll have like I have like friends who are medicine.
That's where we split, my dog. Evolution's pretty real.
but the greater
I've been with you up until now.
yeah, what it would take for like evolution to be false, right? Like the implications of that radically shift, and like like everything like that we perceive about the world. Like
Wait.
like,
Granted, everybody here knows it's a theory, right? Like it's not 100%, not even close.
It's a hypothesis.
But it's pretty damn like convincing though. Like
I mean, a theory. Gravity is also a theory.
it is because there have been cases where it collapses, but in like 99.99% of all cases it holds. So
Sure, whatever that may mean, but like.
But evolution is not the same as gravity because gravity holds in almost every scenario. Evolution doesn't hold up that steadily. It's pretty damn convincing though. Like there's no better theory. There is no better theory.
Quote unquote back in time to talk about evolution. You really have to go like a time machine. I'm exaggerating. It's not a time machine. You look back with the fossils. You look at DNA. You go quote unquote go to the past. To say, oh yeah, we have this common ancestor with apes and monkeys. Like, okay, sure.
But it's not one. There's a gazillion common ancestors.
Yeah, and there's also experimental evidence.
I have a
You could
question.
probably observe like evolution happening around us in the modern day, like
What they mentioned with the flies, yeah.
Like with the flies.
Not even just with the flies. So like there's like certain kinds of fish in like lakes that like develop different sorts of characteristics in response to environmental changes, right?
And lizards,
like,
and they
you can-
speciated so that they can no longer interbreed.
Yeah, but those are hard to study because you don't have, like somebody mentioned, the fast generations. They have much longer lifespans. So like the flies is the best way to look at it because they live what 2-3 days.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so reliable.
Fruit flies. I think they use fruit flies, right? Which has like.
I believe so. Yeah.
Flies, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But even
so,
if
like-
we didn't like have that, like again, that's us like being able to understand levels of evolution, which is good. Like it increases our credulousness, like being able to understand how evolution works at like a functional level. Like that is helpful, but it's not like that doesn't prove it, right? Like somebody can tell a convincing story about how something works, and that doesn't mean it's true. It's
True.
that combined with this idea of science, right? Like there's just like how like science like works and like the empirical method as developed in like the Renaissance, and like how it has been improved upon and expanded since then, and like learning about how science works in high school and stuff, and like how our entire society kind of relies on science in order to function. And then
Wait, what's that got to do with evolution?
Science is not the only thing in this, to be a human in this society, in this world. Like during COVID lockdowns, it was all about trust the science, trust the science, trust the science. Wear your mask and lock down. Like there's more to life than science. And
Agreed.
scientists are
But
not
what's your agreed? But what is your preferred hypothesis? Let's call it
for about what about
over evolution.
Well, that humans and monkeys and apes don't have a common ancestor.
Yeah. So what would be your preferred? Is it creationism?
I mean, life came from somewhere. I believe that life came from somewhere. It came from the divine.
Okay. So yeah. So creationism. So how far back do you think?
If you want to call it that.
Well, that's what it's called. So like, I'm not denying it. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying.
I mean, some creationists do call themselves creationists.
I don't.
But that's fine if you don't. Yeah. That's
Wait,
fine.
hold on. Where I'm trying to take this is, when do you think? How long do you think humans have been around for?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you would say the divine, is it like a Christian? Is it an Abrahamic religion, or is it something else?
Yes.
Okay, so then you would go with the Bible, right? Like 6,000 years old or whatever it is.
I don't know if that's what it is.
It is. It's about like what 6,000.
Well,
I think it's 6,000. What?
There are a couple of different mathematical things people have done. Yeah, depending on how long people lived back in Genesis and stuff. But usually the estimate's around 6,000. It goes up to like 10,000 though.
In any case, it doesn't it disregards the idea that evolution happens over the course of millions of years. So it does, if it's 5,000, 10,000, or 100,000, it doesn't matter, because evolution states that this is a process that has taken millions, if not billions, of years, right? So it's not something quick. So it doesn't matter if it.
The time factor allows people to say that these amazing things happen because
True.
there was millions of years that passed. So
True.
of course, this could happen, even though it was statistically unlikely. But we had millions of years.
But that's the thing, though. That's what I'm trying to get at with this. That if you try to say that we've been around on this earth, let's say on the greatest extent, 10,000 years, right? I've never heard of that one, but let's just grant it. Let's say it's 10,000. we have ways of proving that that humans have impacted the earth for way longer than 10,000 years. Like our actual species, no, it's not just carbonated. You could do lead dating, the thorium. There's a gazillion different ways to prove that we have been around. Not to mention our fossils, because the human species has been around for about 300,000 years. Same skeleton. I'm not talking a different species. Homo sapiens sapiens. 300,000 years.
There are assumptions made in those analyses of dating things.
You don't want to try?
It's
like what?
It's not a perfect.
Like what?
They make assumptions. It's been a while since I studied it. They make assumptions, and they
well, like, what's the general idea? Maybe I can steel man it.
of how.
Because that, like, what I'm trying to say is that our skeletons have been found as far back as 300,000 years. So how do you disprove that?
And I can't prove or disprove anything in this conversation.
Fair enough. But what is the general idea to believe that that's not true? Because, if I prove to you, which I can, through geologic dating, carbon dating, lead dating, thorium dating, whatever it is kind of dating that you want to use, because there's definitely faults with carbon dating. I'll grant you that. There are faults, right? But there's multiple ways to confirm the same thing, including the same fossil. So if we can date it back to 300,000 years and the Bible states that at max 10K, it doesn't really add up.
I mean, again, you can try to judge how old something is all you want. I have doubts in that these are accurate measurements that this fossil's 300,000 years old or 1,000,000 years old or whatever.
Plus, isn't there an incentive for them to kind of say that these fossils are like really old, so that they might get sold to a museum, or so that more archaeological digs can be like?
Is that sarcastic?
There is
a little bit.
in science.
I'm trying to do
A little cheeky, yeah. Okay.
A little cheeky.
There is absolutely corruption in science.
That is cheeky, but that is an interesting point to bring up too, because
No, it's not. Come on.
No, because before we were talking about with climate change, one of the argument is that, well, okay, carbon production based climate change doesn't exist because of
Yeah, but I can prove the age of something, especially if it's that young.
I don't know if you can.
That's not the point that I'm bringing up. The point I'm bringing up is, okay, so if you're someone who's saying that the scientific consensus on the evolutionary model is wrong, and you think that we're being collectively deceived or whatever, then what is the motivation behind that?
Are you talking to me?
Oh, I think he's talking to Jeff
Oh.
actually.
So
I'm primarily talking
motivation.
about charge.
All right, sure. Here's the motivation. The motivation is that there's no need for a higher power because we just came into being from, I guess, nothingness or a pile of goo or a spark or whatever, and somehow life came from non-life.
Well, I don't. Okay, like for example, I believe in God. I also believe in evolution. There's those two things are not divorced.
Yeah, I don't view evolution as being
Against God? Absolutely not. God's almighty, omnipotent. He created everything. That's the end of the story. He created everything that ended up in the human's creation. Well, why can that be true?
Well, I don't believe in the religious faith of evolution, that we came from this creature, bunch of creatures that are no longer around anymore, that produce over the course of millions of years humans and the relatives, the cousins of humans, apes and whatever. I don't subscribe to that faith. And yes, there is faith involved.
I mean, sure, there is faith involved. It's just more likely, like way more likely.
If you say so.
I mean, statistically, it's true.
Statistically, okay.
Yeah, I guess there's nothing much else past that. You can't, because there's definitely no way to like indisputably prove it. There's just no way. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's no way to indisputably prove anything, right? Especially if you're talking about something that happened in the past.
No, there's a couple things that are indisputable, but that's just not one of them.
So depth charge, like even if we take into the account like the biblical sort of view, right? Like, and let's say like let's be generous and say actually when they said 6,000 years, they actually meant 100,000 years, right? Let's even like go like the highest, right? How would you explain the sort of the bones that we found that goes back to like 300,000 years or whatever of humans?
I'm doubting the ability of humans to
Date it.
accurately or correctly.
Yeah.
Oh, like a
date these
carbon
Yeah, that's what he
dating,
said
like,
earlier.
no,
Yeah.
like I see.
Like no method of dating would be enough. Which I mean, it's
So
like there
again,
are
y'all
multiple
have
methods of.
it's kind of valid. It's very unlikely,
y'all
but it's
have
kind of
more-
valid. Yeah.
Y'all have more faith in these scientists and their conclusions than I do.
I mean,
are y'all experts in this field? Are y'all experts in this field?
I'm not an expert, but I do have.
Interesting.
But
I have watched a lot of YouTube videos. Okay.
Oh.
But look, in my undergrad, I took plenty of classes with this. So like, why can't you take my word?
I've seen some lectures and I've watched some videos. Interesting.
I don't have faith in the scientists. I have faith in the scientific method.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that consensus builds over certain topics when multiple people around the world are using the same methodology.
No, guys, they're lying about evolution to undermine religion. Okay, this
Is there an evolution crisis? No.
Actually, good point. I'm convinced.
I mean, there's plenty of evolution crises, like virology, biology.
Less religious, okay? You guys don't understand.
Evolution.
Hey, let me ask you something. Hold on. Quick question. Do you guys think that any society would be better off without religion? Without, it would be better off without religion, because that's what it sounded like you guys were talking about earlier, especially Miss Christmas, and it was like the most like nonsensical argument I've ever heard in my life.
Wait, by any society, do you mean that like any society, if we just took religion out, would be better, or that that there could be a hypothetical society
that there could even be one? Yeah.
Without religion.
Yeah.
The second one, I would say yes.
That there could be a society without it, and do you think it would be better off?
Yeah, like because I mean, at least.
So like, how do you account for that? How do you account for the fact that there is zero promise of any guidance as to the purpose of what your life is? Because that's when most people turn to religions. That's why most people turn to religion, because you need a sense of purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are.
Okay, without it, what do you get? Do you think most people are capable of the same rationality that you have?
I mean, philosophy. I think they're capable either of it or of to significant enough of a degree. Like, I feel like I was capable of this when I was a teenager, and I don't think I was particularly smart when I was a teenager, or like even younger than that, actually.
Most people wouldn't be able to put together the sentences that you have been able to put together. Most people are not equipped to deal with the reality fractioning problem of an actual answer. Like, why are you doing anything? An answer. That's what people want from religion. That's what it grants them. Without that, there is nothing.
I would disagree. I mean, I'd say it's still a problem.
For most people, because you and I could we could rationalize the shit out of this. Most people are not gonna sit down and do this. And by most, I mean at least 80%.
If a society is going to change from having a majority believe in a faith, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, whatever, and shifts to a more human focused philosophy, and it's still humans believing in something and having faith in something. If it's not a higher power, it's reason.
No, but the problem becomes, okay, what do you do with your reason after you die? There's no answer. It's meaningless. It's nothing. It's literally nothing. By definition, if you're a secularist, that's what comes out. There's nothing after. Nothing. It's all from dust to dust, right? So there's nothing. You think people are happy or okay with that?
I don't think the meaning of the present is dependent upon the future.
Right? Okay, you are able. The fact that you're even able to say that, most people can't even say that. Most people can't conceptualize that thought. They literally live like you literally have to think that most of society is gonna be kind of retarded.
I think that's a crazy philosophical statement, but
Okay, it's how do I back it up? By the sheer fact that we are here because of religion. Like, what do you think all of
Which
us,
philosophical
everybody?
statement did he say was crazy though?
I think he meant that of what I said about most people needing a religion. Is that what you meant?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, is that what you meant? That it was a crazy statement to say that most people need a religion because they don't have a sense of purpose?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Repeat the statement that. I'm sorry. Who was talking?
I don't know anymore. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you made a statement about the value of the present not being related to like the future. Like maybe rephrase it.
Well, sorry, I said it wasn't dependent upon the future, right? Like like all of the value of the present isn't dependent upon the future. Like if I eat a cookie now.
Well, he's right. It kind of is though, because that's an insignificant action. But when you're dealing with something as severe as the existential reason you're here, it does.
Well, I mean,
like if you can provide me with an answer to that, what comes after? Like, why should I do anything at all if we're all just dust to dust? That doesn't. There's no answer. It's all meaningless. It's like that hedonistic, like socialistic like way of thinking that I mean it came and went with after the Renaissance. So there's a reason that happened.
I get that. Like
I disagree with both of you for different reasons.
Okay, but like, what I'm trying to get at is that I don't believe that there was a better way to get to where we are now than religion. Is that can you at least agree with that?
I mean, I would say that there wasn't any other way at the time, right? Like I would say like the religion was like what we had first.
Yeah, because you need to unify your people. So that's about the only way you can.
Because we didn't have access to all the types of philosophy and science that we have now. I would say that like religion like isn't like you don't. That's not the only thing that there is.
Can I ask you, are you religious?
No, I'm not religious.
Do you think that you hold no religious beliefs?
I mean, it depends how you define religious beliefs.
Precisely, because your entire morality is religious. So there's kind of no way around it.
Yeah, I mean, I would disagree with that. I would say that utilitarianism isn't like inherently religious.
Utilitarianism has its own problems, and those are gigantic too, massive. So like the idea that you're saying that your morality is not religious is kind of comical.
I mean, sure, you can like think that. I mean, in the sense that like we're all religious in like some big.
Well, yeah, because we all hold the same, like we all generally at least hold the same like Judeo-Christian values, do we not? That's granted.
Well, no, I mean, wait, no, I was saying like we're all religious in the way that like we're religious, and so are people in Maoist China and so the Soviet Russia. Like, if like we're saying I'm religious, and they're also religious.
Well, yeah, that's true, but they don't really follow the same religions. I mean, and I guess it depends. It would depend by district or by section, whatever. And the point is that like all people need a religion for their morality, because absent that religion, you have to depend on subjectivism, and there's literally I could dispute that, and then there's nothing you could do to tell me I'm wrong. Like you can only rely on your morality on religion. That's the only way.
Well, but the same thing is true of religion. Like if I just say I'm a different religion than you, there's no arguing me out of that. Like if you're just taking fundamental axioms
agreed.
Different. But I would say that almost all humans at least have at least the fundamental impulses that could lead to a utilitarian or an egoistic or a few other philosophies.
If that was true, that's where we would be.
I mean, that is where we are in a sense. Like,
how is it so? How is it that we are still relying on like very common principles of just like, for example, utilitarian? You obviously I'm trying to argue in good faith. You obviously don't believe that. Hopefully, like that's not 100% case, because like if for example kill one person to save 10, you wouldn't do that, correct? But that's what utilitarianism does. That's what it dictates you should do.
Well, wait. So
okay, the classic counter to utilitarianism is this: you're in a hospital and the doctor's having to save a life. Somebody comes in and you might be able to save them if you try, but there's 10 other people who can benefit from the 10 organs and will live if you transplant those organs into those 10 people. Do you do it or not? Utilitarianism says yes, you should do that.
I would argue against it on utilitarian grounds.
How?
Yeah, because if you kill one person to save 10 people, you did in isolation a good action, right? Because you saved those 10 people. But now you have just killed somebody, which has all sorts of other repercussions. First of
Doesn't
all,
matter. You save 10
there's
people.
no, it does matter because everything matters in utilitarianism. Every conscious experience matters.
You wouldn't be able to make any choice at all if that was the case. So that's not what utilitarianism is. It's literally just like the greatest good, minimize the bad. That's what it is.
Yeah, wait, you can. You don't take everything into account because we don't have all knowledge, right? But we have a greater degree of knowledge than.
Okay, you're trying to tell me if you kill that one person, 1,000 cascades could go wrong. By saving the other 10 million, it would be multiplied by that same factor on those 10 people. So you're creating that much good versus that little bad. Utilitarianism says do the good.
No, I would disagree again on.
I think you just don't.
I would just say.
I think that you.
Your analysis is wrong. I would say that first of all.
Okay, same scenario. What would you do?
Huh?
Same scenario. Explain why your rationality would lead you to say don't kill that person. Or you know what? Don't kill. Just don't save that person. Because that person's already like hurt, right? You could save them. You could, or you could let them die and then donate their 10 organs. You're not killing them. You're not, because that kind of revolves back to the same like issue with abortion, but which we can talk about another point if you like. But in any case, like the point is that you're not saving them. They're already on. Like you could save them. You could if you tried as a doctor, but you could also let them die and donate the 10 organs.
Yeah. It depends. It depends. Like every piece of it matters, right? Like
right.
It depends on
yeah.
how the rules are set up in your society.
So in that specific scenario, what would be the answer for utilitarianism?
Yeah, I would say that the reason you wouldn't kill them again.
You're not killing them. You wouldn't save them, right? You wouldn't save them.
Sorry,
okay.
Yeah. The reason that you would save them, right?
Save the guy, the singular guy, right? That you would save that guy.
Yeah. Because you have an expectation when you go into the hospital that a doctor is going to do everything within their power to save your life without harming others. And we've established that as a rule because that is the type of experience people want when they go to the hospital.
Yeah, but you're setting the parameters in the hospital because of that rule. For example, what if that wasn't in the hospital? What if it was just, some random guy that had the knowledge to save that person versus the other? He's not tied down by that. I guess you could call it a Hippocratic oath, whatever it is. Like this guy just comes across this, there was a shootout or something happened, and that's the scenario he's encountered with. He could save that guy, or he could grab his organs and donate it to the other ones because he's that good at it, and he could do it, and he could save the other 10 people.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds a little weird because of like being able to do that with all the organs. It's like
because the idea is that utilitarianism promotes the greater good. So I'm trying to paint a scenario where the greater good would be more life saved, because that logic follows that. So
yeah. I mean, I'll take it, even though it's like an extreme example and it looks really crazy.
Yeah,
that's actually you painted
it is crazy.
Enough.
It is crazy.
And,
yes.
Okay, and we're saying that you can let him die. Okay, so letting him die. First of all, we don't have like an established law at that point that you have to save somebody if you can. If they're in like that scenario, then the proper utilitarian thing would be to like let him die and then use his organs to save the rest. If you are so confident you're able to do that, and
that's why it's an issue.
Yeah. At that point, I would bite the bullet and say that that is the right thing to do.
Well, that's why it's an issue.
Yeah, well, I would just say it's not an issue for me because I mean we disagree there on what the right thing to do is. But I would say that
so in that so in that point you would say save the other 10 people, let him die. I would still say save that one person.
Yeah. No, at that point,
like you don't get to have access to this guy's organs because it would save more lives.
At that point, I would say the decision, even if it were to happen to me and I was the one who was going to die, like, yes, but I would want to live in the world where it was the case where the person would let me die and save the other 10 people.
Yeah, fundamentally disagree. There's just no way about that. Like my organs are mine. If I, I guess just philosophically disagree. But in any case, like, how do we even get to that? How do we get to that? Oh yeah, that you said that was preferable to religion.
Yeah, I was trying to demonstrate that I am a consistent utilitarian and say that is. And what I was going to say about religions, I would say that religions evolved.
But you did say that most people have the capacity for that, correct?
Yeah, I said most people have the capacity to have like a philosophical worldview. It might not be my exact philosophical worldview, but a non.
So why did we ever opt for a religion?
Well, because I think it served us evolutionary benefit. It helped us like stay alive in times where it was difficult to stay alive and stay like mentally sound in times it was
Yeah, but that's kind of the point. That without religion, there is no path to where we are now. So if you want to do religion and then switch, maybe we could talk about it. But you cannot get to where we are now without religion.
Well, sure, but we're at the point now where I think we can switch.
We could talk about that. That would be a different argument. That if you could we switch now into a utilitarianism? But the question originally was, could we get now? I'm just bringing this up as a point because I think it was the same person. I think it was Miss Crystal, but she was talking smack earlier on religion on its basis for what it is. Like ontological religion is bad because of what it does. Like it's an indoctrination camp, this and that. But religion's not just that. Religion is an answer for more people than you would think. So without it, there was no path to where we are now. It was a must, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, and religion is better than what came before it, and I think we can get to the next thing that comes after. But like I enjoy
That would be the debatable portion. Yeah, like is there something that is better than that? I still don't agree for the sheer fact that I don't think people. I think most people turn to religion for the sheer reason they might develop other reasons down the line, but for the sheer reason they turn to religion is guidance and a reason for anything.
I just want to apologize quick for the bit of the. I mean, I don't think it was an ad hom, but for implying that you were being disingenuous before. I'm pretty convinced now.
It's fine. It's fine. It's not a problem at all, man. You don't need to apologize.
Shiny, what is your religious background, if I may ask?
I guess complicated. I mean, I was born in Cuba. It's kind of like not very popular over there, and I was raised over there for like 10 years, and then came over here. I mean, I have like a lot of Catholic friends, Christian friends. Some Orthodox, couple Jews, but like nothing. Like I had no formal religious background.
Okay, gotcha.
Like besides, obviously, like you get dropped off a fucking at a church or something for like Sunday school or something. You don't pay attention. You're just a kid. That sort of thing.
Gotcha. I actually still go to church. I mean, not still. I started going to church. I go to a Mormon church.
For what reason?
I like the community. I like talking to people.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because like I've considered the same, but it wouldn't be for the like, for example, I don't I mean Panda's gone now. Like I didn't want to like alienate him or anything, but like I don't like while I do believe in God, I don't believe in the Christian God. Like it just doesn't it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't like the idea of a God makes sense, but like of the book and everything that happened in there, I mean shit might have happened, but it's not like, dude, come on. Like statistics are not on their side. That's just all I'm gonna say. But the idea of a God creator, yeah, 100% backed. I believe in that.
I think you meant depth charge. He's the Christian, not Panda.
Sorry, yeah. Well, there you go. In any case, that's kind of where I stand on that. Like it's like the idea of a God, sure, 100%, I'll take it. That's why I said that it's not divorced from the idea of a God is not divorced from evolution. It is kind of from the Christian God, but I mean, go figure.
But does the idea of just a general creator God give you like
that is way more viable than whatever you want to come up with?
But I mean, that gives you like purpose and like.
No, not really.
Like, does that give you like a belief in the afterlife?
It leaves you. It doesn't leave you with closed doors. That's all. Who was it? Plato's argument? I forgot who it was, but it's the argument that I mean, I'm sure you've heard it, which is like consider the two options. I guess the four options that you have. Like believe in God, in a God, not the God. Like you don't have to believe in a particular one, because what if that's not the one? Just believe in a God exists, right? And you die, you go to heaven. Yay, everything's good. You die, nothing's there, nothing happens. Now go for the opposite side, which is you don't believe in the God and you die, nothing happens, no problem. But you don't believe in a God and there is a God, you're suddenly in a conundrum. See what I mean? So it doesn't make any sense to place yourself in that square. It doesn't make any sense.
That's Pascal's wager.
Pascal's wager. There you go.
Yeah, but I disagree with Pascal's wager because I don't see how it like.
I don't think I've ever seen a refutal. You would have to demonstrate it.
Well, here, take this.
Yeah.
What if I was to say? So I'll just say, like I don't see where the logical inference is for what happens in the box, right? Because I could say that, say you believe in God, or you believe in a God, and a God is real, and then you go to hell, and you don't believe in a God and God is real, and you go to heaven, and then with the other square you believe in God, God's not real.
Sorry, that kind of like tricked me up. You said believe in a God. Go slow so I can do it like see it in my head. Go. You believe in a God. You die.
Yeah, what if it's the case?
You die and you go to hell, even though you believe.
Yeah, exactly. What if there's a god?
Okay, but the
that will
idea
send you to hell
that's
if you don't believe in him.
that will send you to hell if you don't believe in him.
Sorry, if you do believe in him.
You're still left with the point is that you're left with the probability of you might get in somewhere, versus if you don't, you won't get in anywhere.
Yeah, but I don't know why believing in a god would make it more likely that you get in somewhere. It could just as easily.
It just leaves. It doesn't make it more likely. I've never said it make it more likely. It just leaves you with the door open. You're not closing the door on yourself.
But what about a god that if you don't believe him, he still lets you into heaven?
Okay, then great. But like, what if you did? You would that there's what? Okay, hold on. If you don't believe in him,
yeah,
you would get into heaven. Yeah. Where's the logic in that?
Well, maybe he just doesn't care if you believe in it or not.
Well, for that reason, you could absolutely state that you could be an evil person, kill everybody, and maybe that's the way to get into heaven. It doesn't really like but it doesn't have any merit. Like logic doesn't follow that, right?
Yeah, I don't think any of the logic follows though.
Well,
I don't think there's any logic you can draw from the existence of a god to like what his requirements to get into heaven are. Like, I don't see where you can find that logic that leads you from one to the other.
Okay, what do you believe your faculties come from then? Because if you don't believe in your own logic, you can't even like believe in the logic you're stating right now. If that's the case, if you believe in logic, you would follow Pascal's wager. But if you believe in what you believe now, which is it doesn't have to follow that logic, you can't even trust the logic you're following right now. Because what if the following this logic is what gets you bad? Like, it doesn't make any sense. If you need to trust anything, it will be your faculties, correct? You can only trust in your own existence. Who the fuck was it that said that? No, not Machiavelli. Who said that shit?
Descartes.
Descartes. There you go. So you can only believe in your mind, like your entity, not even your body. You can only believe in your entity. By that reason, you can only trust your faculties, your logic, and that follows. Well, yeah. So the logic would.
Descartes' argument actually led to God as well, from his own point of view. But I also
that it what?
Agree with Descartes.
That it what?
Like Descartes also had his like logic in that same book. He also says that I know for a fact God is real because like that's the second thing that's just as real to me as like being itself.
Well, him stating his opinion doesn't negate his argument, which is that you can only trust in your own entity. For example, even in the case that it was a simulation, a brain, whatever the hell it is that you guys were talking about before, it would still leave you with like the entity, the fact that you can think is what makes it proof of your being.
What I'm saying is like I'm not saying that I don't like believe in logic in general. I'm saying I don't see the logic in Pascal's wager. Like there's a missing chunk is what I'm saying.
I don't see what you mean by that. Mm-hmm.
So it's like an intuition, right? It's kind of an intuition that if God was real, he would want you to believe in him.
Correct. Like, logic would follow, right? You would agree.
No, I would say that's an intuition.
That's not logical to you.
It's not logically deduced, especially when you're talking about a God, right? Because God is an omnipotent, omnipresent.
Yeah, but then you're relying back on the same thing where you can't even trust your own logic. Because if the fact that God could make it something so unintuitive that like for you don't get what I'm trying to say, as in the sense of if it's intuitive to you, okay, for example, if for you to recognize a government, a figurehead, a politician, any kind of authority, you would have to believe that person is real. That's what follows. If you believe they're not real, you don't believe in their authority, and that's what logic follows. That's why it's a logical path. So to say that it doesn't follow, as in because to say it's intuitive but it doesn't follow logically doesn't make sense, because something could be wrong intuitively, and I'm not taking that away from you. It could be wrong even though it's intuitive, but it still logically follows. So if you can only trust yourself, your faculties, and your logic, it would logically follow that. Could you be wrong? Yes. What happens if you're wrong? Nothing. You go back to dust, right? That's what the Pascal's wager is.
Why I'm saying is it's intuitive but it doesn't logically follow is the same reason that like atoms, right?
I don't think that's possible. That's the issue. I don't think that's possible for it to be intuitive and not logically follow. I don't think that's possible. I think by definition it is.
Wait, lots of things are intuitive but don't logically follow. Like the shape of the Earth, right? Like intuitively the Earth is flat, but logically we know that it's not.
No. That's because you're adding extra stuff to the argument.
Yeah.
So if you were standing here, no outside information, first time you're on Earth, and you just spawned here, right? Logically, what would you conclude? Earth is flat. But if you start adding outside information to that, you could obviously come to a different conclusion. That's the same thing as saying if you were to die and find out there isn't a god, then logically that argument doesn't make any sense. True. But now you have the outside information to requisite that. Like you're presupposing that information in the argument of the flat Earth. You don't have that in the God scenario.
So okay, no.
At least that wasn't a good example. I'll let you try another.
Okay, I'll try and refine the flat Earth to make it. So I would say it's logical to say when you get to Earth without outside information that the area around you is flat. Like that is logically true.
Yes.
And it's logically like at least relatively likely that the area, very close to like just outside of your vision that it is also flat because how you can observe the the curvature of the ground right around you, like that it has some like extent that it goes to. But to assume that the entire world is flat is not logically sound. It may have intuitive like merit and that like, oh, everything I see is flat. It's like the black swan fallacy, right? Like if no one's ever seen a black swan,
Doesn't mean yeah.
like, yeah, it is. There is some reason to think that there are no black swans.
Okay, hold on. Because what I'm trying to I'm trying to connect in my head because what I'm noticing the only difference that I'm noticing here is that you don't think it logically follows to think that a god, if it existed, would want you to believe in it. You don't think that follows, and I don't see how that doesn't logically follow. Even if you want to split the hairs, it doesn't matter. Like, because at the end of the day, like, intuitive's a word, logically is another word. It doesn't matter. It doesn't like in I guess it does in this month. Okay, let me step back. How does it not logically follow that an authority that is demanding you believe in it would want you to believe in it?
Okay, so now we're adding things.
Okay. I'll rephrase it then. Rephrase it.
That there's an authority that is demanding you to believe in it, then it would logically follow.
Well, what else would a god do? Like, why wouldn't a god want you to believe in it? I guess it's a piece I'm missing here.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that like a god is a concept so far removed from our day-to-day experience, right?
Mhm.
Like it's so far removed from everything that we like have like logical like have
Agreed.
observable
Yes,
data
agreed.
on, like that it's really hard to make good solid logical inferences about the nature of that entity, right?
Okay, it's really hard or it's impossible? Because in your argument, it's impossible.
Yeah, I would say that it's impossible for me at least. Like I can't make any inferences about it. That's why I'm saying I don't see the logic. Is because the like people say that like maybe Pascal is right and there is a logical connection there that if God is real, he would want you to believe in him and he would reward you for believing in him.
Okay, do you or do you not trust your own logic?
Yeah, I trust my logic.
And your logic doesn't tell you that if a god were to exist, it would want you to believe in it. That's not what your logic tells you. Your logic just leaves like draws blank.
In fact, my intuition doesn't really even line up with that anymore because of from thinking about it, right? Like, because if I was to really try to like put myself in the position of a god, right? Think what it would be like to be a benevolent god, like a god who wants.
Yeah, correct, or a malicious one. Yeah, like who's to say what it wanted? Yeah.
Yeah, if I was a benevolent god, I would think that I wouldn't care if people believed in me. Like, and that I wouldn't punish them for not believing in me. Maybe I would want them to believe in me, and I would do what is in my power to, but like, after they die, I would not punish them for not believing in me, because I wouldn't see that as their fault. And I would want what's best for them, and punishing someone after death is never what is best for them.
Okay, but one scenario is essentially agnosticism versus the other scenario being like a full 180 flip. So you present the idea that it doesn't logically follow that it would want you to believe in it, because what if there is a god that would want you to not believe in it in order for you to go anywhere after death, right? So that's the 180. That's a full opposite side. That part doesn't logically follow. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I would say it doesn't logically follow. And even that argument I just made,
and it's a wager. That's why it's a wager. So what would you put if you had to bet your soul on it? What would you side with? How is it not intuitive to you that you would want to put your money? I'm not saying it's likely, by the way. I don't know if that would ever imply that, but I'm saying, what would I put my money, my cards? I would put it on that side because it doesn't logically follow to me that a god would want me to be evil or would want me to not believe in it or be satanic or anything. It doesn't logically make sense. It's so like I would put my cards on the other side. That's just personally. I'm not saying it's wrong because you're entirely correct. It could perfectly be it's a malevolent god, and it just wants nothing but malice. So it could be. It could be. It just doesn't logically follow though.
I don't believe in a malevolent god either. I mean, I think all of those.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That you're sitting on an agnostic line. You're not even against the idea of a god. You're just like it could be, couldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's more likely than not that there is not a benevolent, like all-powerful God. I would say that.
Well, that's already like attributing like an extrinsic factor that doesn't even need to be added. What if it's just a neutral God? Like it doesn't. The idea that there is a better theory to creation, like to actual divine intervention, divine design. There is no better alternative. The only good alternative you could offer me would be the Big Bang, and it doesn't even come close to explaining what would be before. It's just nothing, no answers, nothing.
But the thing is, there's so from my perspective, there's so little evidence to any sort of God existing that cares at all about how we act on Earth that it might as well there not be a God, from my perspective, and therefore Pascal's wager becomes not what happens after you die, but what happens while you're on Earth, right? So they're there's no God, and
yeah, but the entire premise of it is that your chips are on the wrong bowl with no repercussions. Like you're literally you're okay. If I were to tell you this, what if I were to tell you this? Right now, you don't have to do anything. You just have to say yes to me, right? You don't have to do anything at all. You just say yes right now. I will enter you into a lottery, right? And in this lottery, if you win, you have infinite wealth. If you lose, absolutely nothing happens. Nothing. Like, why would you put your chips on the side that has no benefit? There's nothing to gain.
Well, because the chips also represent what I believe, right?
Well, not in any sense, not in any real sense. Like, all you're doing is accepting the idea of a god. Like religion impacts my life and nothing. Like, I don't go to church. I don't say, what would God want me to do? I don't do any of that. I don't do nothing. Nothing at all.
But you still have a belief, right?
Well, if somebody were to ask me right now, like, hey, do you believe in God? Yeah, sure. And that's it. That's the end of the convo. That doesn't impact anything I do. Like, hey, what would you do this? Because, I think that's the right thing to do because that's what God wants. That's never my excuse. I always try to rationalize my arguments. So it doesn't impact my life at all, bro. Like, it's literally just putting your chips in the right bowl.
Well, I know where I'm going to go after I die.
For me,
Where? Straight down.
I'm going to Mexico for tacos and tequila, motherfuckers.
I hear that.
All I'm saying is that would affect my life because I would have to lie in order to say that, which would negatively.
I understand what you're saying. It's not a lie. How is it a lie? If it's just following your intuition, it's not a lie.
Well, because it's not following my intuition, especially at this point. It's like I don't have an intuition that there is a God that I should believe in.
I don't know that I believe that, dude. I don't know that you believe that. I don't see how anybody could believe that.
I mean, it's possible that it's repressed in my psyche somewhere, but as far as I can tell, and I literally go to church. I've prayed. I do the stuff. I have a loved one. I'm trying to win back my ex-girlfriend right now.
Well, yeah, sure, but God is not impeding any of that, whether you accept him or not. Why is it? So why does it matter? Why not just accept it?
Well, all I'm saying is that I have all of these reasons
okay.
that it would personally benefit me to believe in God, but I do not. I cannot. I do not have the intuition that this God and there's any such God that.
Okay. If it sounds like you try to rely on your reasoning for almost exclusively everything, honestly. So why? What better answer is there? There is no. You have no better answer. You don't. That has to be the answer. Design. That has to be the best answer, at least.
The answer is I don't know. That's my biggest answer.
No, but that's again agnostic, right? No side. So you're just picking no fighter in the game. But the best. What do you think is the most likely? I know you know the answer. Your reasoning is telling you design. That's the answer.
It's really not.
How is there a better answer? How is there a better answer than intelligent design?
I'm saying I don't know what the answer answer is. Like, I
Well,
don't know what
that's fine. I don't know. Okay.
Like, we
I
can't
don't
say-
know that evolution is 100% true. I believe in it though. It's very likely that it is true. It's extremely likely that it is
You
true.
believe in a lower form of life that spawned through millions of years, like apes and humans.
What do you mean?
Welcome back, Depth Charge. Welcome back.
So apes and monkeys and humans are evolutionary cousins, supposedly, right?
What does that mean?
Exactly. What does that mean? I've heard that claim. And
That's not my claim though. My claim, evolution. Okay,
I'm not saying it is your claim. But
I hear you.
Go ahead.
But like the point is, evolution. It's extremely likely to be true. Extremely likely.
Like,
Therefore,
where do we come from? What forms of life did we come from that we're not human?
we can date this back all the way to dust.
Like, okay, so there's another species, right?
Uh-huh.
Non-human species.
Yeah.
That we as humans came from.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But that's the claim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is why I've heard the claim made. Again, now 20-something years ago, before Discord and Facebook and
Yeah.
and it's a long time ago.
MySpace.
20 years ago, MySpace, exactly. I'm trying to think. No, it was 2007 or 8. I remember, and this is before.
I was born in '98, brother. I'm not sure.
Twitter existed, but it was in its extreme infancy, and Discord didn't exist back then.
I didn't know the internet existed until 2009, bro.
What I would do to have these discussions in like 2008 was message boards, and I'll never forget the.
I've heard about it.
Actually, on the Young Turks message boards. Before, I mean, those websites don't exist anymore. And I mean, those discussions were lit about whatever.
I've heard. Yeah.
I remember the evolution type discussions, and the claim was made. I'll never forget these claims made in people's posts with strangers, just like we're strangers. We go by these silly names. People went by silly names as they on these discussion boards, and the claim was made is that humans and monkeys and humans and apes and humans and orangutans are evolutionary cousins because we have a common ancestor.
I guess you could call it that. Sure.
So that's where the word cousin comes from.
Yeah, no, I understood what you meant with the implication. I just wanted to make sure it was in bad faith. In the sense that like what came before. Okay, it's what they were talking about earlier. If two species mate and they can produce an offspring, they're considered the same species. If a species, some mutation comes down along the way, and that particular member of that species is no longer able to have viable fertile offspring with the rest of the species, it is not considered a different species. This is all just what's the word? Taxonomy. Fuck, you know what I'm trying to say. In any case, like Mickley, whatever the verb version of that word. In any case, like
this is the fruit fly. This is the fruit fly experiment.
No, this is like just evolution in general. That's how we define species, like different species from each other, subspecies, yada yada.
Supposedly,
but like
supposedly evidenced by the fruit fly experiment, which I don't see how that.
For example, like we don't.
I've supposedly happened over millions of years.
Yeah, as in, I'm not saying there was like a chimp, and then suddenly made it with a real chimp, a hairless one, and then we got humans. No, that's not how it happened. It was very gradual.
No, it's not sudden. It's not sudden, right? The claim is that it's over millions.
Yeah, and we have fossil evidence of our jaw enlarging, of our cranium enlarging, of like we have evidence of all that.
That's very spotty evidence.
No, but like,
wait, have you guys seen the Futurama clip?
Probably. Which one are you talking about?
There's only so much fossil evidence, and the claim that it's an amazing claim that's made that you can trace the fossil records, as if the Earth doesn't shift around and move through earthquakes and natural disasters.
Well, you're correct that it does. Fossils are usually only found in very specific regions. Like within the U.S., there's only like about 4 or 5 different spots where the fossils can actually fossilize. Like you need to have a specific type of ground for it to fossilize. So if you don't have that, you don't get any fossils.
And yet we use that as evidence of evolution over millions of years.
Yeah, because we have.
So it's very
you guys want to watch this quick and we'll discuss?
The what now?
Is it Futurama?
Yeah, it's Futurama.
Wait. Do you believe like evolution occurs for everything but humans?
Play the South Park thing too.
I mean, again, we can do this. We can do this with not just with humans. Like again.
Oh, okay. So it's just across the board. Like it doesn't like you don't think it.
Yeah, I mean,
but how do you disprove then for other species? Because like I mean, maybe I could hear you out on the human aspect because you believe humans were especially created by God and put on Earth, yada yada. But for other species, we could literally make them go through evolution right now, like we said with the fruit flies.
Wait,
again, there's still fruit flies. They just happen to not be able to breed with each other, so we call them different species.
Because that's how we classify them. Yeah.
They're still all flies. They got wings and all that stuff.
No, but okay. So how you classify in taxonomy? You have like your what was that acronym to remember that shit? Whatever. It was like kingdom, strata, whatever. You have a bunch of different classes, right? So you go down. So you want to go down that list. Where like when you go to species, it's at the very, very bottom, right? Like at the very, very bottom. So if we have like for example, I don't know, okay? So canines. Canines have a common ancestor with the wolves. Like they have a higher class, they have a higher tier above them, and amongst that you have a bunch of different.
Well,
yeah.
They're just part of the same kind. But wait, let's watch this quick. It's only 2 minutes long. Okay, I'm starting it.
To the thinkers. Oh yeah, it's the moon episode, right? Yeah.
Where's the orangutan?
Play the South Park evolution clip.
I cannot speak for you, sir, but my ancestors were not monkeys. They were orangutans. Working patriotic orangutans. Dr. Banjo? In the fur. And I remind you that evolution is merely a theory, like gravity or the shape of the earth.
The flying spaghetti monster.
Flying spaghetti monster. You seriously believe I'm descended from some kind of flightless manicotti?
Oh, please. A far more logical explanation is the undisprovable science of creaturism. All life was created in its present form 7,000 years ago by a fantastical creature from outer space. Bunk! Oh? If your elitist East Coast evolution is real, why has no one found the missing link between modern humans and ancient apes?
We did find it. It's called Homo erectus.
Then you have proven my case, sir. For no one has found the link between apes and this Homo erectus.
Yes, they have. It's called Homo habilis.
Aha! But no one has found the missing link between ape and the so-called Homo habilis.
Yes, they have. It's called Australopithecus africanus.
Oh, I've got you now. Fair enough. But where, then, is the missing link between apes and this Darwinius macilli? Answer me that, Professor.
Okay, granted that one missing link is still missing. But just because we haven't found it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Pshaw! Things don't exist simply because you believe in them. Thus saith the almighty creature in the sky.
Yeah, pretty much. That pretty much sums that up.
South Park evolution.
It definitely paints those who have the doubt of
In a bad way. Yeah, I get you.
Evolutionary.
But the point.
Theory or hypothesis as the irrational ones and the ones who are yelling and screaming.
No, granted. Yeah, granted. They do that all the time. And like, I agree with this sometimes, don't agree with this sometimes. It happens all the time. But the idea of it, like the slow change, you don't see that. But for example, you said, yeah, they're still flies, but now they're a different eye color, right? So like, okay, but next generation is going to be a different eye color and different wing type. They have a different shape. And then the next one, different legs. The other one actually doesn't even have legs. And like that, and so on. Until you get to something that doesn't even resemble a fruit fly. Same thing.
I just don't see how that's evidence of how, humans supposedly evolved from Australopithecus or Homo erectus. I mean,
Well, Australopithecus africanus it looks pretty much like a human, just more monkey shaped.
Bold claim. These species don't exist anymore. But they definitely exist. They definitely exist in the past, even though we've never observed a lot of one.
But that's why they did. That's why they came up with the. That's why they came up with the roundabout solution of inducing evolution in the species that can create multiple generations quickly. because we can obviously for us it would take a gazillion years. We don't even have that much recorded history. What, like 10,000 years? It's barely anything. So for us, it's very hard to like definitively prove. But we could do it to other species. So how would it not apply to us? We could do it to them. We could induce it.
Even for the bones, like depth charge, you can like see how we're like.
No, but you kind of have to grant it. You kind of have to grant it. Even if he says it's similar, it's not proof. You have to grant it. There's no other way.
I wasn't even using fossils, right? It's just like, but it's like true that we're more similar to some species than we are to others, right?
Like, okay, can you grant that?
You can look at similarities all day long, sure.
And that doesn't.
We're more similar to things with a similar DNA, and we look nothing like those things on the outside.
Wait, do species change in your opinion or no? Like, has every species on Earth just been the same throughout? That's no, right?
Heights change and skin color changes over time, and
so what doesn't change? Bone shape? Is that what you think doesn't change?
I mean, I'm waiting patiently. Of course, it's not going to. Again, the claim is it happens over millions of years, but I'm waiting patiently for non-humans to be produced by humans.
Well, that's the issue. So we can't. I'll grant it to you.
Humans that are produced by humans can mate with each other,
but not with us. Yeah. So I'll grant it to you. I'll grant it to you because we can't do so, right? Because we live 80 years. Our lifespans are very long. It's very, very hard. We don't have that much documented history. But I'm talking about other species. So I'll grant you the humans, right? Let's just grant that for the purpose of this hypothetical. So for other species, do you not believe that they change? Because it sounds like you do, because you agree that fruit flies changed. Yeah.
But again, we can do this with the. Okay, so with the fruit fly example, for instance, is this what's observed over a period of generations of fruit flies? And here's my question.
Yes.
You've got these fruit flies that produce other fruit flies, and those other fruit flies that are produced can mate with each other, but not with the fruit flies that came before them.
If enough generations pass, yeah, pretty much.
Oh wait, also you don't actually
like it's
that specifically. Like we have an example of a lizard that we observed this in nature, right? There are species of lizards on I think it's near California, and there are a bunch of species living around this mountain range, and we find that they're all related to each other, right? Like the lizard species spread out over time, and they're end up on two sides of this mountain range. But there's like a pass on the south side that lizards can still cross between, right? But it's large enough distance that one lizard can't cross the whole way.
Yeah, it's basically the bottleneck effect.
Yeah, we find that lizards can breed with each other, but with other like close relatives, as in things that are like close to them geographically. But the lizards on the northern sides, the ones that are furthest like separated by the horseshoe, they can't interbreed. So what happens, like evolutionary wise, when you have this like genetic variation like over geographic distance, and then you have extinction events, right? So what happens if you wipe away all the lizards in the south? All you're left with are two different species that cannot interbreed, and then have to go along separate evolutionary paths because they can never become like one species again. Like they could before they were part of this like this horseshoe of things that could like theoretically interbreed from each other all along the line, but if you lose those like linkages, you end up with separate species.
Yeah.
And that's a very different analysis than like again getting these things in the far future that are like look totally different than what came before it, because these ancestors of humans that supposedly existed before humans millions of years ago looked totally different and couldn't even talk, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, if we go far back enough, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
but we couldn't even talk. We couldn't even talk as far as like 12,000 years ago.
They could do right?
That's the same case up to like 10,000 years ago.
Well, I don't know about 10,000 years ago. I mean, the
yes, it is.
The evolution of language is like a super interesting topic, but like we know very little about like how.
Well, what if you can only prove what you have recorded, right? So the only thing we have recorded is up to 10,000. Well, I guess technically 10,000 BC, so technically 12,000 years.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that we didn't have language before. Right? You can't prove.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what you want to classify as language, because what we had before was drawings, not language. There was no written word.
Yeah, but it's I think we have pretty good evidence that like spoken language came before written language. So then we still have
Like, if you want to classify your grunts as language, then sure, but that's not true. Like, there's no written like classify. If you don't have a system to classify language, then it's not language. You're creating one between you and another person, and it doesn't get passed down. Like, for it to be language, it needs to be like accepted by a community and passed down.
Yeah, but wait, no, we have like physical, like I'm talking about spoken, like when we made contact with the Americas, most of the Americas didn't have language, but they had spoken language. Like spoken language just comes first, right?
Yeah, we don't really know spoken language.
Okay, when would you say it is then? Because there's no recorded history of it, so you can say it happened at, I don't know, 20,000 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying it's a mystery, but I'm just saying probably well before written language first came on the scene.
Oh, well, granted, because obviously you just jump a huge gap and it just happens. No, like, you need to develop some kind of system. But if you want to go factual basis, you can only say 10,000 BC. That's it.
That's all he's saying.
Oh, okay, then yeah, fair enough. Yeah, obviously, yeah. But wait, what was that point about? What did he say?
Because he was talking about.
Oh yeah, that we didn't have any language. Yeah, that we just grunted.
Things that didn't look at all like humans. But the thing is, if we find like the point with the missing link thing is like, sure, 50 million years ago, like Australopithecus, freaking, or Homo
Whichever,
erectus,
yeah.
Yeah, well, oh, sorry, not 50,000, like 50 million years ago, look pretty significantly different from us as far as we can tell from bone structure, and that it was like quite a bit shorter, but it looked a lot more similar to us than any like chimp alive today. And as we get closer to the modern era, like as we go like up in layers of like sediment, like as we go further up and like other ways of dating, finding newer settlement, they start to look closer and closer to the examples we find in like Africa and like the Middle East. The examples we find of like similar looking bones, they get longer, the jaws get smaller, the craniums, like the frontward part of the craniums or the fragments of we found them show that they're like larger, and they get closer and closer to looking like modern humans until they're indistinguishable from modern humans.
Yeah.
Like, there's no like giant break.
I wonder with the lizard example that you mentioned, Tito, that like, okay, you said that like, okay, so the geography and other factors, like you got two different groups of lizards, and we're calling different species or whatever we want to call them, species, right? Two different species of lizards that can't interbreed with each other. Is that what we said, or you said?
Yeah.
Like, and that's true in all cases. They tested every single possibility. Like, it's just not possible for these two types of lizards to reproduce with each other.
If they're distinct enough, yeah.
I believe that's what happened, is that they like grabbed lizards from far enough away from each other, and they couldn't find any parent. Like, they would grab like multiple lizards, do the test. It's a repeatable test, right? Like, grab another set of lizards, see if they can interbreed, and if they can't, or if they can't produce like generation, like a liger, like lions and tigers can interbreed, but they're not one species because the offspring is infertile.
I'm just wondering if there are other factors as to why they couldn't reproduce. Because two humans can try to reproduce all day long, and they just can't produce an offspring.
Yeah,
just can't do it. Just can't do it because like the percentage is really low, right? So a man and a woman have sex, and then there's the ejaculation. It's like there's not a pregnancy is not going to necessarily happen.
Yeah, but they had like a whole population of lizards, right? Like they can go back anytime, and I'm sure they have gone and retested this, multiple times with the same population to see how it works, right? How it functions.
And how many lizards are we talking about in each group?
I don't know. I haven't checked that specific example in quite a while, but like,
see, I'm just wondering what the threshold. I'm wondering what the threshold is for them to say, "Yep, this group of lizards and that group of lizards, they just cannot reproduce and produce more lizards. They just can't do it."
Yeah,
wondering what the threshold is for them to say that it's just not possible.
Yeah, I wonder too. But you can also see with like the example of ligers, like it's pretty, we're pretty certain now that lions and tigers cannot make viable offspring, either tigons or ligers, which is the different ones that happens if the different one is male and the other one is female.
Wasn't that a whole Family Guy joke?
So we're pretty sure that lions and tigers are related, but they're not the same species because they can interbreed, but they can't like fully interbreed, right?
What produces a donkey? It's a horse and what?
a horse and no, it's a mule is produced by
It's
a
a
horse
mule.
and a donkey.
Thank you, but
Yeah.
a donkey's is infertile. It's always infertile.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mules.
Right.
I mean, they might have found a fertile mule by
Sorry.
No, I don't believe they
The
did.
mule is infertile. Right. The mule is always infertile.
The offspring is infertile.
Yeah.
Which is the mule.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
From a donkey and a horse.
Yes.
Yep. I know from Minecraft.
Even within mule and mule, they're infertile.
Secretly, I learned all
Yeah.
my,
Like it's not just that they can't. It's not that they can't. Yeah. Like go back with a donkey or with the horse. It just can't go with anybody. It's infertile completely.
Yeah, and there are other times when the offspring, or like there are other things that species when they just physically can't copulate anymore.
Yeah.
Because they're their
Like
genitals have evolved
exactly.
differently. That also happens.
So I gotta go. Or, it'll be quick. Bertito, can you join me in personal support real quick? It'll be really quick.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, no problem.
Where I gotta find it again. There it is.
Is anybody else left?
I'm not sure.
Rip. I wanted to see if we could do abortion. Getting a little late. Are you guys on daily or just like a seldom thing?
I'm new to this
So am I.
channel.
That's why I ask you. I'm not
I've
sure.
been on a few times so far. I don't know what kind of longevity you'll have on here. We need more crazy.
I don't know. The other day I was here
I
for
want
an
people-
Israel Palestine one day. It was crazy, dude.
I want the people with like, okay, I
Like
having
actual
people-
crazy, like.
I like people with like the craziest fucking takes as
Yeah.
possible.
Me too.
But at the same time, like not unstable enough that conversation is impossible.
It's almost like impossible to
I,
find out.
I know it's like a very difficult sweet spot, but when you find it, oh god, is it good?
I get you. Most of like when I do watch a podcast, those tend to be the most enjoyable ones. When you get some nonsense like that going down, it's like holy fucking shit.
Like I want to hear some like genuine flat earthers and be like really like I really want them to like break it down for me.
God damn, dude. God damn. I'll wait until it comes back because I don't think I want to do latest fight. I mean, I don't know where you guys are at. It's like fucking 12 here. I gotta work early. But I want to see if he wants to get on tomorrow. Head that one up.
It's still early where I'm at.
Europe? No, that would be way later. Oh shit. Oh yeah, Cali?
Yeah, I'm West Coast, so it's almost 9 o'clock here.
Yeah, you're
I'm
chilling.
not California, but West
Yeah,
Coast.
West Coast, yeah. I don't know how we were talking with the dude in Japan. They were what, 12 hours ahead? I guess it's like midday. Yeah, what am I saying?
He seemed like a pretty interesting guy.
You too, my guy. You too. That's why I want to like come in here and like see like who's, cause dude, I've been looking for. I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I think it's been months for like consistent dialogue, but it's so hard to fucking find. That's why I ended up on Discord. Like the ones where I'm usually in, like nobody wants to debate, nobody wants to talk. Everybody's like wary of touching any topic, but it's hard, dude. It's hard. And it's not even like a.
This is the only Discord channel that I'm part of that isn't just full of like complete drunk people, like 24/7. Like this is like, oh whoa, these people are actually forming sentences.
They're singing.
Yeah.
God damn. Yeah, it does tend to feel that way, man. It's fucking wild. But yeah, I don't know. It's like
I was on this one where this bald guy was just like pounding fucking like Busch Light beers and screaming to himself.
oh, Jesus Christ, like a random Discord.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, dude.
Some real Lieutenant Dan shit. God damn, dude.
Exactly. The real Lieutenant Dan.
God damn. Grill's gonna murder me, so let me just add this dude. So I could. Actually, you know what? Ah, fuck, I don't want to go in there and then make this guy mad. Oh, let me just ask real quick because I gotta get off. It's been it was good, man. Hope I see you around here again.
Yeah, likewise. Take it easy, man.
So concludes it.